What's up, pimp?
Get a look at this effing guy.
Hey Lor in chat, just wanted to say hi. I got a new job working second shift 3 to 11 and can't watch live, but just wanted to let you know I miss being in chat, but am always watching the VODs. อยากเดินแรงและตีปีน What about the boyhood dream? That Iron Man match was truly something great. Congrats on the new job. Epobatafat big ups. Congratulations. Congrats, dude.
Yo, matey, for asking where you was.
You should know that you do have a lidu. At Darkside Birdreal, nah, dude, you good. Feels good, man.
Breasts.
What's on the menu for tonight?
Just like a is making me, making me, making me, and all that I feel and all that I see is making me, making me, making me. Cover me in greed, 'cause you planted the seed when you fed my ego, needless and disease, for old invincible me, like some kind of hero. Is it no surprise that I'm paralyzed by my fame and fortune as I close my eyes and dive into the sky? I'm dead 27. Yeah, make me a superstar. Yeah, don't matter who you are.
I was wondering where the Stepmania was LMA.
Make me a superstar. Yeah.
At Darkside Virgil WrestleMania 18 and the Modern Clock.
All of my pills and all of my drinks is making me, making me, making me. And all that I feel and all that I see is making me, making me, making me. And all of my pills and all of my drinks is making me, making me, making me. And all that I feel and all that I see is making me, making me, making me. Make me a super.
At Fear Monarch, Stepmania returns tomorrow morning.
This live stream may contain mature material some viewers might not find suitable.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is the 21st of May, 2026, and this is a very special edition of Smark Guys 3.0. My name is LDZ, aka Lor Diaz, and I'm so happy to have you all here with us here tonight. Tonight. It feels so good to be back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, and everybody in between. The greatest internet show named Smark Guys 3.0 is back on the internet. We have a lot to talk about. Myself and Dashfire have been doing the damn thing. I'm hoping that you are enjoying yourselves. I'm having a lot of fun. Going back to the past, this was literally 2002. 2002, guys. When WrestleMania 18 descended on Canada, and oh my God, going back and watching it, I literally watched it today, this morning, going on, and it it is quite the time capsule. Some would say it was a better time. I would tend to agree with them. I am here with Dashfire. I have him tabbed open over here on the Kick platform. And it looks like he's been knocked off the air. Let's see here. Let me just refresh this real quick. Oh, we got kicked off again? What the? Interesting. Let's try this again. How is everybody doing? It is so good to see everybody here today. Darkside Bird Real, Mr. Lolcow. Darkside Ranter with the resub. Thank you so much, my friend. I really do appreciate that. And thank you for making Kick your preferred platform for this production. We are live across YouTube, Kick, and on X. We are leaving Twitch wide open for Dashfire. And I do believe he's having issues on his Twitch. So let me just, on his Kick. So let me just see what's going on the Twitch over here. How is everybody doing? This is a Thursday evening here. And I literally, like I said before, I literally just got done watching WrestleMania 18. It was a close to 4-hour long extravaganza. And I took some notes and I have a lot of thoughts. It should be a lot of fun. Just double check to make sure that Dash is okay. There he is. You do have to be patient with me. This is a pre-built Walmart CPU that was bought about 6 to 7 years ago. So there you go. Okay, yes, I just got the word that Dashfire is having OBS problems. No problem. It's not like I haven't done a solo show before. But big ups, everybody. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us here today. I really do appreciate it. And there was no Step Mania stream this morning, but we will return tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be a good one.
Stream brought to you by Meld Studio Law.
Oh, you already know. If you could spam some emotes, McBrew, over on the Kick side of things, you will see some emote effects. I'm dialing back the
What up,
alerts.
pimp?
King Be Cruel, what up, pimp? Good to see you. Dashfire is having OBS issues at the moment, so we're going to wait for him to see that through. And in the meantime, how about you guys spam some emotes? Yes, let them fall. Look at that. I love it. Very cool. Yes. So I did update my OBS to 32.1.2, and then that means that I could have access to all of the Meld AI features. So one of the first things I did was say, hey, let's go ahead and have the emote wall show up on there. I really do like it. And it's now becoming very apparent to me that I may have to start thinking about investing in a brand new PC for this upstairs production, because it is just not holding together like it used to. I could start from scratch, but that would take days, maybe a week or two to figure it out. So it would be a rough go of it, but I want to make sure that I provide a value for people's time when they come through and hang out for this production. So. But yes, behind the scenes, there was no Step Mania stream. However, I will return tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So do stay tuned for that. It is Goth Girl Day. So I have a goth AI-generated waifu lined up in the thumbnail. If you see what we have going on over on Rumble at rumble.com/user/Lor Diaz, you can actually, if you don't have an account with Rumble, you can make one with my referral link, which you should see pop up in the Kick chat. And what you can do there is set up an account through that link. Rumble will give me a little kickback. And you can also help me get to my 100 follow goal over on Rumble. If I can get 100 follows over on Rumble, then I can become a part of the Rumble Partner Program, which is the next big goal. When we sought out in the year 2026 to make Kick the premier platform for this production, not only did you guys see me to that end, to those means, but we far exceeded anything that I could have ever thought of doing when it comes to making Kick a thing. I'm slowly but surely backing up all of my YouTube videos. It's going to take a while. I'm just now catching up. I am at 2024. This was around the time, 2023, 2024. This was around the time that I started doing videos on Dark Side Phil, and that was because he was talking about Comcast stuff he knew nothing about, which was what brought me into the fold. So I started doing that. I was also starting to do the Stepmania streams, seriously, and it's so funny to see how far we've come to that point. I had a L-Tech dance pad. I only had this one light shining down on it. It was very poorly lit. The aesthetics were all over the place. But from humble beginnings, guys, from humble beginnings to where we are right now, I feel like the journey and the destination have both been a learning experience for sure, and I appreciate all of you guys being with me throughout the journey. Specifically, two people that I like to shout out: Coffee, Not Safe for Work, of course, who has been there from way back in the day, and then also Jess Cup, who always comes through. Jess Cup has seriously been in most of the streams all the time, and one of the quintessential people in chat that you will want to have. Never trauma dumping, never complaining, always
Progress.
always in good spirits. Yes, any progress is good progress, and so whenever I have an opportunity to do so, I always want to let
What am
people
I?
know.
Chopped liver?
Oh, be quiet, King. Be cruel. You already know. You already know. The one true king. And trust it, if it wasn't for, I think it was In an Otter Place. In an Otter Place got me linked up to King Be Cruel to have a conversation over on Twitter, because I do remember this. Because like I said, I don't like pick me energy. I don't like being a pick me. And I did want to reach out and interact with these other people inside of the Vortex, because literally at around 2023, 2024 is when I started dipping my toe into this realm. And if it wasn't for In an Otter Place hooking King Be Cruel and myself up inside of this text thread over on Twitter, we wouldn't have King Be Cruel stopping by and everybody pulling the spoons out for the one true king. So, of course, big ups to King Be Cruel. And by the way...
LMAO Miotka. I've been a BM2KX fan for a while, fam.
Oh, shit. You already know I've been a King Be Cruel fan since day one. Did you see, by the way, that the Darziak files have dropped? Yeah. What do y'all think about that? Channel handle, what up, pimp? Good to see you, my friend. Happy to have you here over on the YouTube product. We're just hanging out for a little while, waiting for Dashfire to get his OBS working. It looks like the woke left is trying to cancel and silence Dashfire's voice, which is a shame. There's a lot of striking going on, and it's kind of crazy out here in these streets, the way that people are just indiscriminately, just doing this to other creators, silencing creators that they don't like. So that means all the more reason to diversify where we are in terms of like streaming on the internet.
The stream is under attack.
So yes, the Kino Cathedral YouTube page has been struck down. And if anybody watched the Kino Casino the other day, I think yesterday, in fact, they're just like, all right, fuck it, whatever. Fuck YouTube. We'll continue to do what we're going to do over on Kick, and we're still going to do Gumroad and Rumble and all of that. So they seem to be well off. They seem to be doing fine. So there you go. Daniel Moosin, welcome. Hello, my friends. From Ireland. That's what's up. That's what's up. We got a worldwide audience.
Sirax tried to take down Casino, and like everything else he does, it went poorly, and Dash got caught in the crossfire.
Oh no, look at that. You don't want to do that. You gotta leave me and my friends and my family.
They are not hurting.
The fuck alone. Brother, I'm like, I'm watching them. I got them on in the background while I'm doing other things, and it's like they have 20-minute segments where they're just reading off the super chats, which is not super chats, but like gifted subs and all of that. And it's absolutely insane. And I mean, Kick takes care of their creators. So by all means, if you gotta do what you gotta do when it comes to getting that money. And I'm just gonna say it behind the scenes. If I were to lose the YouTube tomorrow, I mean, obviously I'll be upset.
Gotta be Bankin.
Oh my God, bro.
It's insane the bump they got from all of this.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely insane. Like, this is the worst thing for the quartering and the best thing for the Kino Casino. When you really stop to think about it. So channel handle. Triple P's page, as far as I know, was the Kino
It's a work
Cathedral.
law.
Yes. Yeah, it's a work. The Kino Cathedral page was where Triple P would upload like the promotional videos talking about what's going to happen on Kick. And those videos alone would make tens of thousands of views. And they usually do them like the day of. So, of course, it was struck down very recently. And Triple P essentially was just like, all right, well, fuck it. Fuck it. We won't use YouTube as a platform anymore. And it's a sad state of affairs given like all of the work that I'm sure Kino Casino and all of us that have decided to do content creation on YouTube are now faced with this dilemma, because we can't do the content that we want to do and say the things that we want to say without risk of getting struck down. So the wrong thing, it's so crazy to think, like, not even a couple of years ago, 2020, 2022, you know, a lot of voices were being silenced in certain circles, and now they came back, and now they're eating each other alive. So I always considered it like this. The black magic, the forbidden magic inside of the content creation realm is to strike down channels and take away people's ability to make money off of YouTube. Because I think everybody that does content creation on the internet would, you know, in a way want to have, of course, people watch it, and then, of course, people to support it. And of course, you know, all the work that you put in there is a factor as well. Not just the creator themselves. It's all the people that came through and watched the channel and saw it grow and support the channel. You know, not a lot of people want to make the jump over the Kick, and not a lot of people want to take a chance on Rumble. And so it's up to people like the Kino Casino to make having an account on Kick worth it. Hey, look at this. A Vino just followed the channel over on Kick. Thank you so much. And look at this. It looks like Dashfire is back online. Let's throw him back. Let's throw him up.
Kino got me over.
Exactly. And like, if it wasn't for Kino Casino, you know, laying the foundation for all of us to start making in-loans.
I have not been here for a long time, but it has been a good time. God bless, and let's keep stepping and hitting the goals.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, looks like Dash is ready. They're getting the... Who? I'm not trying to get Dustin Nunned out here. We gotta make like a Smark Guys intro. I gotta see what the DSP one looks like, and then like do a spoof of that. Uh-oh. All right, it's time to go, everybody.
What is going on, guys? What is going on? Is my mic working?
Yes.
Okay, good. It's working. God damn. Guys, the woke left is after my account. They're after me, dude. I can't do anything about it. Ric Flair wants to silence me, that son of a bitch.
Woo!
Okay, so sorry about that. I am not drunk and passed out, so don't worry about that.
Not
I
yet.
am one of those things, though.
Hey!
And Ric Flair, you son of a bitch, you old bastard. We're going to talk about you today. But first, let's see if Lor is ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready, pimp. Yes, sir. Oh. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We got a lot to talk about today. We got a new concept.
What is going on, my friend?
Hey, it's all good. Hey, so it sounds like your channel's been under attack by the woke left. Have you
The
been?
woke left is under attack. Or no, the woke left is attacking my channel, dudes. It's the Orange Parade. They're after me, dude.
Are you
And fucking old
engaging?
man Ric Flair. He's trying to
Woo!
silence me, dude.
Are you
He knows what's
engaging in the
coming.
wrong think, bro? Are you saying things that might hurt people's fifis?
You never know in 2026.
What a time. What a time to be a wrestling fan right now. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you know, looking back, I literally just told you that I watched WrestleMania 18 this morning, and it is such a time capsule of its time, and to see where WWF at the time was to where WWE is now, what a stark contrast.
Well, the funny thing is, so last time we had King of the Ring 1993. Now we have WrestleMania 18, both transitional periods. So you have right after WCW gets bought out by the WWF, after that horrible, shitty invasion angle that absolutely reeked like dog shit.
Oof.
We now have NWO. We got Hogan. We got Nash. We got Scott Hall here. We got Goldberg around the corner. It's that ruthless aggression draft era that's almost around the corner. As the second ever WrestleMania in Toronto.
And you know what? At the time, I didn't even think about it, but as I was watching it today, I was like, wow, they did actually stack the card top to bottom with Canadians. You got Edge, Christian, Trish, Jericho in the main. At the time when I was watching it, I didn't really like pick up on those details, but you know, as somebody that has done professional wrestling for quite a long time, I'm now picking up these small little nuances here and there that I missed watching in my early adulthood, and I made a bunch of notes over here, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys.
Big up.
So
y'all.
if you notice too, it's in Toronto. So this is an era where people rarely won in their hometowns. So of that, we have Christian. Well, I'm just going to do some spoilers right here.
Go for it.
Christian lost the European title match. However, he did win the hardcore title and lost it. Edge won, Trish lost, and Jericho lost.
Adavino, big ups.
So it's kind of balanced there.
Perfectly balanced as it should be.
Yeah. But before that, we have some special stuff to go into. We have new concept, new news. And we're going to start off with that old bastard. The limousine riding, stealing, kisses, wheeling, dealing, jet riding, son of a gun. Of course, I'm talking about Ric Flair.
Woo!
And what do you know about this whole Ric Flair and Ludwig thing?
So it's interesting that you say this, because didn't Ludwig just have some sort of altercation literally today, or some sort of news breaking literally today? So it all kind of seems like it's been snowballing. But from what I gather, Ric Flair had something to say, and from what I gather, I could be wrong. I'm almost under the impression Ric Flair is not aware that Ludwig is actually another pro wrestler that is on the active roster right now. Am I getting that wrong? What is this? What's going on here?
He's very, very outdated and doesn't know the details about Ludwig. Who, again, as everyone knows, he's El Grande Americano down in AAA. So this actually started last year, but it did not start with Ric Flair. It started with Charlotte versus Tiffany, WrestleMania.
Oh my.
So Charlotte, in the lead up to WrestleMania, would go off script, start insulting Tiffany, make personal comments, and Tiffany kind of bit her lip. But then she did one line that pissed off Charlotte and Flair by extension. And she said, in the ring with Charlotte, you are the queen in the ring, but you are not the queen outside the ring. When I beat you at WrestleMania, Charlotte, you're going to be just like you are in real life, alone. And what's that record? 0-3. Woo!
Woo!
But it didn't stop there. So Tiffany then rolled out of the ring, and you can tell it was very weird, very awkward, because the camera cuts, Charlotte's still with the mic, and Charlotte said on the mic, that's why Ludwig is in my DMs. That's why.
Yeesh.
So it gets a little thicker there. Now, the funny thing is, so Ludwig and Tiffany were never ever acknowledged on WWE TV before or after. And of course, Ludwig would go on Twitter and say that don't flatter yourself and put a picture of Diana Hart from that Shawn Michaels British Bulldog little angle they had, referencing that Diana made it up about him. And then, yeah, so the whole storyline was Michael was making moves on her, but it never actually happened. And then, so this is where it kind of gets wishy-washy. So this was brought up on WWE Unreal, which as soon as you hear that, you're like, is this real? Is it not real? And they showed Tiffany was forced to apologize to Charlotte because she was pissed off. And then they had a WrestleMania match, very stiff. And at one point, Tiffany's teeth were damaged, but she wore a veneer, so they got knocked off, not actual teeth. And then the girls would be seen hugging and complimenting each other after the match.
Nah, he was clapping.
And as you
Sonny.
know, as a wrestler, sometimes you got to work the beef out in the ring, and that's what happened here. So, do you agree with that? Where sometimes two people button heads backstage, you just got to leave it all in the ring?
Well, I have a personal experience when it comes to something like that myself. I had a ongoing feud with Robbie Illuminati at a time, and you know, we worked a lot of shows together. We had a couple of programs together, and I'm gonna just say it up front. Me and him definitely butted heads to the point where we were going to come to blows in the back, like no cap, legit, like ready to throw down, actual aggro. And we made sure, no matter what, the business that we did out in the ring didn't the aggro that we had in the back didn't bleed out into the ring. Now, I'd like to think that it helped add a little bit more legitimacy to the story, because we were laying it in on each other. We were a little snug, we were a little stiff, but I feel like it absolutely added to it. So this isn't the first time that some real life heat kind of bleeds into what you see on television. It certainly won't be the last. And personally, I think it actually brings out the best in each other, because then you really want to show up and really show out. At the end of the day, you want to protect the person that you're working with. You never want to have that reputation for being unsafe. So that's why I love I love that kind of I love that element of professional wrestling where you can actually do business and make money with someone that you personally have a problem with. And the great like the big thing that everybody can subscribe to is that, hey, when we go out there and we do the business, we establish the rules of engagement, and everything kind of falls in line after that. So to see Charlotte and to see Tiff go out there and give a little bit of extra when they're out there, it definitely added to the program and to the match. So I'm not against it by no means. And I'm glad that even after the fact that they seem to kind of, I mean, obviously you got to push forward and keep doing business with whoever you're doing business with. So yeah, again, this isn't the first time it's happened. I'm sure it won't be the last. It hasn't been the last. And, you know, it's just all, you can have entire video series, which they do exist on online. And I would love to actually start watching those over on the Kick channel, where real life, squabbles with people that you're sharing a locker room with bleeds over out into the ring. You can talk about like Samoa Joe and Necro Butcher. You can talk about so many other separate cases. Many such cases.
Yeah. So now we're going to play an audio clip from Tiffany Stratton. This is from Logan Paul's podcast, Impulsive.
Oh boy.
Where she talks about the feud between herself and Charlotte.
You and Charlotte Flair. Felt like you got a little off script there, Tiffany.
You're gonna be just like you are outside of the ring. Alone. Shit got heated. We both went off script. It happens. I did have to apologize, and that was that.
Was it hard?
No. I'm someone that can like fully embrace being in the wrong.
Do you believe you were in the wrong?
Now, you can't see this, but she has a huge smile on her face as she's pausing.
Pause.
Yes and no. I think what I did was justified, but maybe I shouldn't have gone that far.
You and Charlotte Flair.
So, everything's good now, right? So, Charlotte's good, WWE is good, Tiffany's good. It's all over, right? Well, not exactly.
One would
Because there's
think.
one person who was not okay with it. And that was the 16-time world champion, Ric Flair. And he had some issues about this. So this is from Ari Emanuel's podcast, where he's talking about how he was not invited to WrestleMania because of what he did last year.
I know what I've accomplished. I know what I've done. I feel like, and I do feel this way, that I should have a red carpet wherever I go.
Now, I'm going to ask you, as a 20-year veteran, is that true? Even though he's toxic to everyone, should people just bend over backwards and roll out the red carpet for him?
Well, I guess it depends on the circumstances, because professional wrestling, as I'm sure with a lot of other entertainment industries, will have these hard red lines that you're never supposed to cross until it becomes convenient not to. So never say never in professional wrestling, but the assumption that Ric Flair is going to have the red carpet rolled out for him everywhere that he goes. Well, I mean, he is Ric Flair, the dirtiest player in the game, but if your heat is so nuclear, if your presence will actually be a detriment to the rest of the show, maybe it should be an opportunity for you to take a look at yourself and reflect and realize, well, how come I'm not being invited, or how come they're not rolling out the red carpet? Going out here and saying these things, I'm sure, is sensationalizing, the moment and the situation. So who's not to say that he's just saying this in order to get people to talk about it, obviously. So, I mean, Ric Flair did double my payday the one time I did extra work for WWE. So I may have a bias here. But, obviously everybody wants to be a part of the WrestleMania show, whether it just be hanging out in the back or being out there on the grandest stage of them all. I guess a little bit of humility could have gone a long way, but we're talking about Ric Flair here.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, too, is at this point, he was also with AEW, so a rival promotion. So do you think possibly they didn't want him there because he was part of AEW?
Well, that's probably the big point that I completely missed. Of course, if you're assigned talent from another promotion, there's just absolutely no way that you're going to put a contracted AEW talent on the biggest show of the rival company. That just puts it all in perspective. Absolutely not.
And I'm not afraid to tell you that. I didn't get invited to WrestleMania this year. I threatened to beat up.
Okay, so already I'm just gonna say that the start of the sentence is, I was not invited back because I threatened. I'm just gonna say that straight up. That might be a problem there.
Tiffany Stratton's husband last
Boyfriend, not husband.
Oh my!
year, I wasn't allowed to go. A 24-year-old kid.
He's 35.
Being threatened by a 76-year-old man, and I can't go to WrestleMania. Are you kidding me? That English kid.
He's was it Austrian?
I thought it was UK
Or German, I think.
Yeah, German. Yeah.
Somewhere in Europe, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he ain't
gonna go
American,
far
that's for
west.
sure.
Yeah. So listen to this part right here, because remember, Ludwig is El Grande Americano, big star in AAA right now.
Huge.
But Ric Flair doesn't know that.
That English kid. He's going to go as far in wrestling as a net. He'll be a fly on the wall in a year.
Oh, that did not age very well. So because he doesn't see him on the roster, he's like, oh, he's nothing.
What happened there?
Well, they had that thing, where Tiffany's
Well, he
made
got
this smart
arrested.
remark about Ashley's divorces, which we both know she's not smart enough to have written. Somebody gave it a script.
Now, is that a good thing to say, is that your daughter's not smart enough to write that?
Wow. There just seems to be a comedy of errors going on here. Just everything that he's saying is
Kaiser,
worse than the next.
Yeah.
script. And then he implied that, I'm just going based on social media, once again, which there's a lot, that he was implying that he wouldn't bum one off Ashley.
Based
And I
Kaiser.
went,
So that was when we were talking about he was saying, "Don't flatter yourself," the Diana Hart thing.
Oh,
okay, I
context.
need your number. I got it, which I can get anybody's number I want any minute of any.
But I just want you to think about that. So he said on social media, "Don't flatter yourself. I'm not into you." So Ric Flair's first thought is, "I'm gonna call this guy up and threaten to beat his ass down." That makes no sense. So you want him with your daughter? So
Jesus
that's kind of the
Christ.
opposite. You
Did he
want him
have
to
a
stay away
stroke
from your daughter.
recently?
Day. And I called him. I said, "Hey, when I see you, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you."
I wonder why you weren't invited to WrestleMania. I wonder why.
I'm threatening you. How come I can't show?
So he went like a little bitch, told Hunter, and I wasn't allowed to go.
Damn. Like a
So
bitch.
since then, there's
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nope. That's all I had.
He's gonna really go far in the business.
Again,
Uh-oh.
aging really well.
Uh-oh.
A 76-year-old man tells a 24-year-old
Again, 35-year-old man.
kid is gonna kick his ass. And where is he now?
He's one of the biggest stars in AAA. Well, until last night, he was one of the biggest stars in AAA.
Is he even on the roster?
is this Ludwig Kaiser?
Yeah, little punk.
He's actually in Mexico right now.
I'm sure he is. I hope he stays.
Damn.
Ooh. Oh, Flair just never knows when to shut up.
So since then, since that interaction, you've been told to stay away?
No, but I just, I know this is sad to say, but because of the relationships I have with guys like Taker, who's real.
Who, by the way, is the booker in AAA in Mexico, by the way.
And doing a great job, actually. A great job.
Yes. It's going to be kind of weird now because I believe this weekend they're supposed to have the mass versus mass with the Americanos. So it'll be interesting how that goes. And I like the dynamic as well. So in Mexico, Ludwig is a face and Gable is a heel. And then it's opposite in the States too on Raw.
So crazy. It's like, I would say Bizarro World, but I think the AAA's got it right. I'm actually slowly coming around to AAA. It's becoming can't miss event television for me. I'm really impressed with what The Undertaker's doing down there, if he's calling all the shots.
Yeah, and definitely some of those women, goddamn.
Oh my God.
Who's real and all this. If you were behind the lines, like, even though I'm not there, I know everything because I know everybody.
Okay, so this is where he's going to go on about his ego and how he's the best. He can call up anyone and he's better than Ludwig and all this other stuff. So this is the Ric Flair Nature Boy persona just coming out. He bought into his own hype.
There should be a red carpet for me.
That sounds like entitlement right there.
Sounds like he had a stroke, right? King Be Cruel.
To the front row. And that's how I feel about it. What my contributions to this business and the work that I put in, hours of trying to make wrestling something that it is today. And I got to have problems with politics. Give me a break.
I just want to point out, he says this is politics. He's the one that called up Ludwig and said he's going to beat his ass down. He's the one that put this in this situation. No one was like, oh, you got to call him up, Flair. You got to call him up. You got to tell him what. This is all on Rick right here.
Come on. I mean, I'm not mad at anybody. I understand it's politics now. It's too much politics and not enough wrestling.
Okay, so that is Rick Flair. What do you think about him and what he said there about Ludwig and not being invited to WrestleMania?
Well, I'm sure all of what he was just going over right there. Had to, he had to dial it up to 11 a little bit, make for some entertaining an entertaining interview, obviously. Maybe trying to build up a little
Is this
hype.
why he was apologizing on Twitter out of nowhere?
So, okay,
That
King B.
was
Cruel is
random.
actually bringing up an important point over here on Kick. Is this why he was apologizing on Twitter out of nowhere? That was random. I wish I could tell you. You never know. Like, it's so heartbreaking to see someone who was so full of life and someone who could run somebody down in a promo with ease as a Ric Flair, just sitting there almost kind of struggling to talk. And Jerry the King Lawler also is another one who I'm going to pull a quote from him. And no, it's not puppies. It is, keep your words soft and sweet because you may end up eating them. So I don't think he did himself any favors in regards to maybe getting invited to the next WrestleMania if he's alive for it. But so much to say. If Ric Flair was trying to like drum up some interest in some sort of possible feud or some sort of possible program, or maybe get this to be presented on television, pro wrestling is a very what have you done for me lately business. And if Ric Flair was going to sit there and go, well, all of this stuff that I put into this industry to make it what it is, yes, you can't deny that Ric Flair is one of the cornerstones of professional wrestling for the past couple of decades. Easy, no doubt about that. But all of it almost gives trying to find relevancy in this new modern era. And of course, obviously, since this was an older interview, a lot of what he's saying really doesn't track now, because Ludwig, now with the Grande character, has become one of the most beloved characters in all of AAA. And then that dynamic that you were talking about before, mixing in with Chad Gable, and now I believe the Creed brothers are in the mix, and then obviously you have Tyler Bate, and you have the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne now donning masks and being a part of this program. There's a lot of opportunity for all of these characters to establish themselves on television. I just don't see a spot for Ric Flair at that table.
Yeah, and the interview that we just listened to was before this year's WrestleMania. So that was in 2026.
Okay.
And this is a pattern. I've always seen Ric Flair do this. He'll say something outrageous, apologize, and then the cycle begins over and over again.
And around we go.
And then he put out on Twitter, Mr. Ludwig Kreiser, I never implied you couldn't work. Remember what we just heard? Or you didn't have talent. I actually understand that you're doing really well with The Undertaker's promotion, so someone smarted him up on what he's doing.
Yes.
I am sorry that I got upset. I'm naturally very protective of my daughters. Remember, Charlotte is almost 40. She has her own life. She, has been married 3 times. I'm pretty sure she doesn't need to be protected.
Right.
As I am sure as you grow older, you will too. Continued success. Apologize for anything I said about you personally. It was not about your professional skill, which I have heard is very good. So a 180 on what he just said. Now, it didn't stop there, though. So there was other tweets where people were still giving him backlash. And he said to the extent, leave me alone, it's over, get over it, just let me live my life. Which, at a point, you kind of have to let him go, just let him do his stuff. Like, you can't hold grudges like this. Especially when it's him and Ludwig and Tiffany and Charlotte, and they're all good, just... in my opinion, just let them live their lives.
Thanks, Daddle.
And bleeding into like the detractor stuff too. One of the biggest things that we say when it comes to people like DSP and the like, don't feed the trolls. If you don't give it any oxygen, then they're gonna, put their focus to something else. Just the fact alone, he could have just left the apology out there and then let that stand. Instead of like going, oh, okay, well, it's done, guys. We put it to rest. You don't have to talk about it anymore. That's just going to invite more people to talk about it more. Because, the world of professional wrestling, it goes at a breakneck pace. And then, the next big controversy is going to come through. And then nobody's going to remember any of this stuff. And it'll all be water under the bridge.
Yeah. And the next thing also involves Ric Flair. So, as you know, he always liked to play up his persona, the nature boy, the playboy, whatever. And this is just absolutely insane. So, he talks about all the women he slept with on the road. And do you know Wilt Chamberlain?
Sounds familiar, but I cannot really put a face to the name.
So he's a basketball player, and one of the most famous things he's ever said is he slept with like 3,000 women or something like that in his career. And Ric Flair is now going to say he passed Wilt Chamberlain when he was 39. But he also wants to say that they weren't all 10s.
You know that famous Wilt Chamberlain 10,000 number?
Oh, sorry, it was 10,000 women he slept with.
Damn, but who's counting, right?
How do you know how that's possible?
Score
Wilt?
is score
Wilt
BBY.
the stilt.
I blew by him and I was 39.
What? 39. You're double now.
Well, hey, I can't listen. The one thing I want to make sure of you, they weren't all 10s. There was a couple of heavyweights along the way, but it was in a small town.
Just a couple, right?
Ball
Just a
is
couple.
ball.
Kind of sad that a lot of old legendary
Yeah, I
wrestlers
don't
are
remember
destroying their
names.
legacies.
I don't want them
Both
to
Ric
remember
Flair
mine.
and Hogan, for example.
Those are rookie
so
numbers.
this is the Ric Flair I like.
10,000?
So
That's
obviously
nothing.
he's making this up for humor and stuff like that.
Of course.
But this is like the Ric Flair
Some
I like
nickels,
that's
a few
having
dimes.
fun like this.
Mm-hmm. And I mean,
So
would it
would you
count? Would
know-
it count if he knocked down two at the same time? You know, menage a trois style. Would that count as one, or would that be the two or more?
I think they're counting individual, but the question is though, if let's say there's an orgy and there's 20 people there, he only has his way with one. So does he count the other 19 because they're technically there?
I would. You know what? If it was me, which I've never been, by the way, I would say why not? Let's pad the numbers a little bit. Yeah, let's just add the other 15.
So next up, so now we get to the latest news, which is the arrest of El Grande Americano, Ludwig.
Free my boy.
Yeah, so he was arrested in Florida. So this is a quote from the person that
Hang
was
on.
assaulted.
Before you leave,
He was
I gotta
assaulted
stick it
and
in
battered by an
before you
unknown
go,
white male
so I
just
can
outside
get
the
the numbers
elevator on
up.
the 12th floor. Advised at approximately 18:30 hours, he entered the elevator followed by an unknown white male, which would be Ludwig, and an unknown white female.
Oh my.
Rep stated that the elevator ascended. The male and female began acting in an uncontrollably intimate manner, which I believe they talk about like making out and stuff.
Oh no.
Described as aggressively kissing. Imagine being stuck in the elevator and you see that.
I mean, have you seen the girlfriend though? If we're talking dimes and
Well,
nickels, that's definitely
That's the weird part is, so he's dated a Mexican girl in Mexico, but he's in Florida with a white girl.
Uh-oh.
So I'm wondering, you know who else is in Florida? I'm just saying. His ex, Tiffany.
The plot thickens. Interesting.
I'm not saying it's her, but you never know.
You know, allegedly, supposedly. Yeah. In our opinion.
So he then said he reached the 12th floor, exited the
Those
elevator, told the
Mexicans will
couple
get ya.
to please have some manners. And then Ludwig, allegedly, after hearing the
Allegedly.
comment, began attacking him. And he was punching him and pushing him to the ground. And the male, which is Ludwig, had made threats of additional violence towards him. So
call
what do
me
you think of
Shadow the
that
Hedgehog
scenario?
for my love of the Latinos.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, I think personally, I think it's based. To be honest, like, "Hey, can you get a room? Pow! Right in the kisser. Like that's base behavior. But unfortunately, you are a representative of a company. You know, AAA, WWE, all of that. You always have to
Damn
think
Ludwig
about
didn't even wanna
the
leave a crumb.
implication of the rest of your peers that you work with. Like, because now people are going to be like, oh my god, I'm in a elevator with a WWE superstar. He might knock me out if I try to correct him. So I don't know the full situation, but as it's being presented here, it just seems like the punishment didn't fit the crime, and which was, I mean, maybe you could say something along the lines of, hey, he should have just waited until they got back to the hotel, or hey, he should have just kept his mouth shut and, you know, looked at his phone while they were making out. Too many variables. You don't really know what happened in the elevator, but you know, at the end of the day, Ludwig unfortunately probably should have, had discretion being the better part of valor and just, kept to himself, kept his hands to himself, in both situations. Because now
Think about baseball.
as far as like I know, like he can't travel, so like obviously he's going down to Mexico a lot to do these AAA shows. So you have to think
This
about your
weekend, too.
career. Yeah, and you have to think like in isn't this the Triple Mania show that's coming up, the really big one where they're doing the
Mask versus Mask.
Bro, like, okay, so now that we're kind of like putting all of this into the ether, like that was probably the biggest boneheaded move that you could have done. Like that's like RVD and Sabu getting caught with weed while rocking the WWE championship. Unfortunately, like that just seems to be a very poor way about going. Just poor choices in that regard for sure.
So there is an update on this. He did get bonded out at $1,000.
It's not
However, he was not allowed to leave the country, but his lawyers made a petition so he could fly back and forth between Mexico and the United States because this is his first offense too.
That's what I read. Yes. So
we'll
might
see.
still happen. We'll see what happens.
Oh, can you imagine too if Ric Flair actually went up to him and this is why he got arrested?
What if he slugged him one and it killed him? He turned into dust.
And now something a little bit more serious. We're going to talk about the WWE releases. So nobody wants to see anyone lose their job. And TKO seems like a whole different beast. And I have a list of WWE releases here. Kairi Sane, I'm not going to count that because from what I heard, she just wanted to go back to Japan.
That's what I heard too, yeah.
We have Aleister Black, Zelina, Uncle Howdy / Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, basically all the Wyatt Six, Santos Escobar, Motor Machine Guns, which I am actually shocked at, Apollo Crews, Rowan, Joe Gacy, Andre Chase, Zoe Stark, who is injured, I do believe, Alba Fire, who is part of the Chelsea Green stuff too, and then a bunch of NXT people. What are your thoughts on the people that got released?
So nobody enjoys seeing somebody else lose their job or lose their sources of income. Obviously people, especially in this economy, in this job market right now, it's a lot more difficult to make money. It's a lot more difficult to find work. But this is par for course with the WWE. Usually after WrestleMania, they do a big purge. They try to see how they could save money where they can, make new spots for new people. And this is nothing new. I'm not surprised by the amount of releases. It's unfortunate that they did lose their jobs, but this could be a blessing in disguise. I remember when Kurt Angle was released or Drew McIntyre was released, and I was like, man, that's crazy. It's crazy to think that they're going to have a pro wrestling career outside of WWE, but then they go on to thrive in other promotions or thrive on the independents. Zack Ryder, for an example, is now back on SmackDown. Like, crazy to think how all of these talents have been let go, but they're hiring. They're hiring, from what I understand, Enzo Amore and Big Cass to replenish their tag team division. It's just insane to me.
Not only that, they're also, I believe they're signing Baron Corbin.
Which is, I think, an excellent hire, to be perfectly honest. Baron Corbin was one of the safest people to be in the ring.
He's a good hand, yeah. Absolutely.
A great hand. He could definitely help the next crop of new talent that's coming up. They can learn a lot from them. So who knows what will happen? I know that a lot of the Wyatt Six, I know that Dexter Lumis, for an example, is now reinventing himself. He had, I think, Nikki Cross as well. So this is, instead of looking at it as a negative,
really wanted MCMG and Fraxium to be tag
Bro,
champs.
yes,
They're
okay,
incredible.
so, and I apologize if I say this name wrong. Avino over on Kick said that they really wanted to see the Motor City Machine Guns and Fraxium in a longer program because honestly, those are the two best tag teams in the division at the time. Fraxium is now flailing in main event as last that I've seen, but to be honest. Main Event actually be putting out some really good shows from what I've seen. Anyways, tangent. I've lost the plot. These releases, are to be expected. It sucks to see them lose their livelihoods, but to remain optimistic, it does seem like an opportunity for them to be to explore new avenues, to maybe try to test out new characters, new ideas, new gimmicks. And especially right now in the independent scene, there's a lot of opportunities for them to make good money and be their own boss, essentially. They could pick the shows that they want to do. They can set their own schedule. And a couple of these people I actually, have shared locker rooms with from time to time. And like Joe Gacy, for an example, is an excellent, awesome human being and very resilient too. So if there was ever a time for these guys to flourish, without having to deal with the guardrails that the WWE puts around them, this could be seen as a perfect opportunity for them to do so.
Now, do you think they're releasing these people because they have the partnership with TNA to kind of keep them in the system, but just not pay them?
Kind of like a Dolph Ziggler, they can kind of like call them up and go, hey, we'll want you for this Cena thing. Okay, yeah, come on through and just do it by a per appearance thing. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all just money. This is all just finances. This is all just numbers. They want to see a return on investment. They want to see if they can cut, where they can. So unfortunately, this is part of a bigger, I'm not going to say problem, but like a symptom of the business and of the industry, especially with TKO. They're making money hand over fist, but then of course you have to feed the corporate machine. They always have to make money. And so if they can't slap an ad on it, they're going to get rid of it. And, just another opportunity to appease the stockholders.
Now, do you think out of all of these ones that were released, who has the biggest potential that you're like, oh, they shouldn't have released that person? Who do you think had like maybe most underused but had the best potential?
Well, obviously, Bo Dallas being in a legendary wrestling family, having the lineage, having, Bray being the brother and, tragically losing his life too soon. There's a lot of equity in Bo Dallas. And unfortunately, I do believe like the Wyatt Six was almost like an anchor because he was kind of pigeonholed into that role. But at the same time, you have to think of it as a blessing because obviously it gave him something to do for that extended period of time. I think this would be a good opportunity for him to kind of flex his creative muscles and explore that character without the confines of having it be micromanaged by a giant corporate machine and just see what happens next. He could definitely also lend his talents in terms of like his wrestling mind to promotions that he does work for if he chooses to do so on the independents, maybe coach or tutor people that are coming up doing some seminars. I think Bo Dallas would be the name that comes top of mind when it comes to who has the most potential to make the most out of this.
So do you think Aleister Black's character was kind of like unappreciated / unknown what TKO wanted to do with it?
So interesting that you say that because essentially Aleister Black and Selena Vega pretty much filled the role of a Scarlet and Karrion Kross.
Cross.
Yeah, they needed like a gothic power couple. And apparently TKO, and this is all, rumors and innuendo, they're not a fan of dark characters from what I saw on the internet. But then again, it's something I read on the internet, so take it with a grain of salt. I've actually been watching some of the I guess it's like a training video or some sort of like it's Aleister Black's account where he's talking about like how to utilize different ways of doing things in the ring, which is really interesting for me as somebody that likes to perfect their craft in the ring. So seeing Aleister Black's character not being truly realized on WWE, again, goes back to what I was saying earlier. Now he has an opportunity to actually do a little bit more with that character and maybe explore how to how to evolve that character more rather than just, oh, we're going to stand here and aura farm for a little while.
And now we're going to get into the really, really scummy part of the releases, is that it came out that TKO now wants to stop paying the wrestlers as much as they were contracted for. And the number that keeps popping up is 50%. They want to pay people 50% less than what they're actually making. And it was reported that it was the upper mid card that they're looking for. And that's one of the reasons, from what I've heard, the New Day is gone. And the justification from TKO is things are very different now than when you signed this deal. Yes, we are asking you to take less money, but their argument is you're doing significantly less now. You're not doing 4 house shows a week. You're not on the road 4 days a week, paying for your transportation and your hotel and this and that. You're on the road 1 day a week. You're wrestling maybe twice a month. And we want to pay you less because you're doing less. That is their mindset. That's their perspective. Do you believe that's fair?
So if I was working for TKO, I would say it was more than fair. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, if they are seriously only doing 1 day of work for the week, if they're, I mean, you have to think about it now too with these pay-per-views. They're only really doing 4 or 5 matches a show once a month. And then, of course, you've got, you know, the weekly shows and wherever they want to send you. It's not like they're at a loss for the talent that they want to put on television. But then again, when you sign the contract, you know, you're under the impression that you're going to be making that money for this amount of time because of the work that you're putting in at that moment. And this house show thing is not a new concept that they, you know, that they took away. They actually brought it back, which also has an interesting corporate note attached to it, which we might get into later. But they're bringing house shows back. So what is this argument that they're talking about where, okay, you're not on the road for 5 days out the week. You're not on the road 350 days out the year. I can see that, but then now they're also bringing it back in a limited capacity. It just seems like a lot of corporate doublespeak. Obviously, if I was the one making the money and signing the contracts, I would be a little miffed too. I think the one post that Kofi Kingston made on social media talking about the situation kind of summed it up best. Know your worth. And I'm sure that the New Day are not hurting for money, you know. I feel like they've been doing okay for the past, you know, decade or so. So it's really that they have the upper hand when it comes to what they want to do next. Like they could just ride off into the sunset and call it a career, and it's probably going to be one of the most decorated careers that you could possibly have. I think that they're obviously going to become Hall of Fame members, obviously, later on down the line. It's just in this moment here and now. Obviously, the big corporate stockholders want to save money, and this is how they're going to do it. And if they have a clause in their contract saying, hey, we can change this at any time, they understood that, obviously. And if they presented them with this opportunity to say, hey, let's either cut ties or we'll cut your pay. If there's opportunities to make money elsewhere, then by all means, get that money, boo.
Well, I'm sure no one from Roman Reigns' family got a pay cut, I'm just saying, with the Rock on the board. And now they have in AEW, if they sign the New Day, they could have the New Day, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Xavier Woods, that whole dream stuff.
That's a all-star list of potential matchups right there. That could make AEW a lot of money. And in the professional wrestling industry, you know, sometimes you want to sign people, you want to sign talent so they don't go to the competition and make them money. So this seems like a really odd way of saving money if TKO was presenting the New Day with this ultimatum, for lack of a better term. It's, hey, we're not going to pay you the money that we promised you at the beginning. Okay, we'll go ahead and make some money with another promotion that could potentially hurt us. Just doesn't seem to make sense to me.
Yeah, and we have Kevin Nash's take on this, and he says, I could only think at this point, ticket prices should go down. If they can't work it out financially, maybe some of the higher-ups can kick back some of their golden parachute back and help out the working man a little bit. It's always about Main Street, not Wall Street. it would only make sense 50% cut to the guys, tickets are 50% off. You agree with that?
Kevin Nash is based. I love listening to Click This, and not because I used to do work for that production, but Kevin Nash is right. He's always been a business-focused professional wrestler, very smart businessman, always thinking about the money and thinking about the business side of things. I'm going to agree with him on this. Obviously, as a professional wrestling fan, they tore away comp tickets. You have to, pay your way in, and then obviously it's only very expensive ticket prices now. Vince McMahon, when he was in charge, he wanted to make sure that the entire family was able to come see the show and put all of the other Vince McMahon shit by the side. When you just slice this part of it out and really think about it, I remember going to WrestleMania at SoFi Stadium, and the seats that we got were like, I don't know, $50 for each night. Obviously, we're up in the nosebleeds, but it was a very, the entire experience was awesome. We got to see everything on the screens. I had a great time. I was highly inebriated off of some THC energy drinks. So that was like the last WrestleMania I remember having affordable prices before TKO decided to go, all right, guys, guess what? Everything's expensive as fuck now, so deal with it. And as long as there's people out there spending that money, TKO and WWE are going to have no incentive to drive down the prices. I mean, outside of maybe selling some more tickets to night one of WrestleMania this past year, but I mean, what do I know?
Yeah, and then you were talking about it earlier with the house shows. So WWE returned to live events this summer to reportedly used by TKO as a test to see if a larger house show schedule could return this winter, which means they could increase the house shows, how many dates people are working, while they're also taking away 50% pay.
Ha! Isn't that
so?
Funny?
The decision will depend on financial success of the tours and talent health throughout the run.
So I know Cody Rhodes had a lot to say about this too, because he thinks that the camaraderie and the way that people figure out their characters or figure out what to do in the ring is largely dependent on how many reps they get in the ring. So I can definitely see that if you do something ad nauseum over and over and over again, you're bound and determined to get a little bit better at it. But you have it completely right. If they're going to cut these people's pay and then say because they're not doing as much work, and then as soon as you cut the pay, you give them more work to do, that definitely seems a little slimy. I'm sure that maybe it was a coincidence. At least I would like to hope so. But again, I remember when Seth Rollins hurt his knee, blew his knee out on a house show and had to take some time off. So it's you gotta weigh the pros and cons. Obviously, sometimes the house shows are more entertaining than the actual television shows themselves because you don't have to worry about timing things out for television. You could be a little bit more relaxed. You're not too boxed into specific segments and everything. You can let loose a little bit more. So I could see the benefit of these house shows. I'm wondering, and interestingly enough, I was looking into this a little bit behind the scenes. These new house show markets that they're running the shows out of, if you take a look at all of the places that they're going to be running these house shows, and I may be wrong on this, and I'm open to being corrected if I did get this incorrect. It would appear that these house show loops that they're going to start doing also coincides with arenas and cities and areas that are kind of bought into the TKO brand and umbrella, so that the money that they make on these house shows obviously will benefit TKO in more than one way.
Well, yeah. Also, some places they're packaging UFC tickets and WWE tickets together.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Oh, by the way, did you see where the next UFC fight's going to be?
Oh boy. I've heard some rumors in scuttlebutt. Yes.
It's 100% official now. The UFC fight will be on the front lawn of the White House.
Jesus Christ. This is idiocracy in real life. It has become actual reality. I can't believe it.
And then also, because TKO also has WWE, there's going to be WWE superstars they announced that are going to be there for sign-ins and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the funniest thing was Charlotte didn't know she had a sign in there until she saw it on social media.
Not the
So
first
she put out
time.
a tweet like, "Oh, I guess I'm going there."
Not the first time that a WWE superstar is informed of what they're doing on social media before the company could actually tell them, which is interesting to say the least, but not surprising in the world of pro wrestling. Things change minute by minute, so I'm not surprised at all.
But I'm probably wondering, and you're all wondering, are they having financial problems? Where's all the money going if they have to cut prices? They have to raise ticket prices and cut salaries. They must be in financial trouble then. Diaz, on the screen that you're seeing right now, tell everyone what Emmanuel has made this year.
Oh my goodness. Let me go ahead and
it's highlighted.
Let me go ahead and expand this right here. Emmanuel has just made, and Jesus Christ, $67.4 million. Jesus Christ.
And then we have Mark Shapiro. How much did he make?
That is $42.6 million.
And then we also have Nick Khan, the big WWE guy.
What the fuck? $24 million.
That's it. Carrot.
Jesus Christ.
So you're saying you can give over $100 million to these people, these three people, but you can't put that back to your wrestlers. But it doesn't stop there, though. Guess who else made money? Just take a wild guess.
Oh my goodness. You're gonna have to smarten me up.
It's someone who used to be involved in WWE that still has shares in the company.
I don't know, chat. What do you guys think? Sound off. Let me know what you think. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark here, and it might be wrong, but I'm gonna go for it. Crash Holly.
So we have Vince McMahon.
Oh,
is right.
no.
So, yeah. So as you can see here, stocked, owned, he still has like 122 from the Holdens. He's got Silver Lake, 122. Vincent K. McMahon, 6,442,235 shares.
This is
So
insane.
he made quite a few.
I'm like stun locked by this shit because I mean, for all intents and purposes, Vince McMahon was pushed out of WWE and like reasonably so. I mean, if everybody is not or not familiar, Vince McMahon was selling WWE to TKO, obviously, and he was still a part of the creative, but then all of this controversy came out regarding him and some of his employees. Some other people were involved in it. I won't get into the sordid details. If you wanted to look that up, go ahead and use the Google machine to figure all that out. But to think
It's quite a shitty situation.
Hey, yo, to see that he's still, I mean, obviously it was his company, you know, he built it up from where it is. Just that, like, what's the point, dude, of like doing things the right way? If there's people out there that do all of these heinous things, you know, and these companies that do these heinous things, and these stockholders that are, you know, are beholden, that need to get that money, they really do. Like, what's the point of doing things the right way?
Well, look at this other name that's on here, Dwayne Johnson.
Yikes.
Who knows what it's like to be a boy in the locker room.
Oh my.
He knows about the pay cuts, about being screwed off by the higher ups. So now he's screwing the boys in the locker room as an executive.
He said, fuck you, I'm getting mine.
Which is weird because, you know, Roman and all them.
Climbing the ladder and then kicking it out from underneath them so nobody else can climb it.
So, not only that, so Nick Khan just got re-signed for TKO for the next 3 years. And it says in his contract, the first year, which starts on December 31st, 2026, he's going to get paid $2 million as a base salary. Then, January 1st, 2027, his base salary will be $3 million. So that's no bonuses or anything, just base salary.
Jesus.
So you see in a pattern here, all the higher ups getting the money, the actual workers not getting it.
This is par for course for every corporate entity and every business that's out there. It's always the elite the rich elite at the top, making all the money off the backs of the workers underneath them that are unfortunately, at the whims of their masters, which is a shame. And it's something that is not going to go away anytime soon. It's going to become it. I mean, it's already the normal, and there's just no way that we're going to come back from this.
And then we also have, it's reported by WWE that they're currently experiencing record attendance, record viewership, and record engagement, as per TKO COO Mark Shapiro. And still 50% pay cut.
Good for them, I guess. Again, they are beholden to the stockholders. They want to see that that line go up, and it's all part of the business practice, which is a shame to say. It's not the it's exactly working as intended.
And not only that, they announced TKO earned $1.597 billion in revenue, with a net income of $249.8 million. And WWE revenue was at $475.7 million.
Christ, the numbers of it all. I mean, like, none of us here are going to be sniffing anywhere close to that amount of money. How much money does one company or one person need? I don't see the necessity for it.
Well, not only that, so they're saying that the UFC is bleeding money, so they're actually losing money. So now they're going to look at WWE and say, how can we cut numbers there to make up for UFC? Which is a double-edged sword when you have both of them combined.
Yes, because if one part of the company is hemorrhaging money, you have to look for other ways to kind of supplement it. So it looks like UFC is actually the anchor that is drawing all of them down.
Did you see the Ronda Rousey Netflix special?
So I caught the fight on Twitter because it was literally like a 12-second fight or whatever. The one thing that I can glean from what I saw was the weigh-in. It looks like they both were in excellent physical condition. I definitely appreciated that. And I guess big ups to both of them for making that bag. I wish I could do 17 seconds worth of work and make a cool $1 million.
2.2 for Ronda.
Jesus, good for her.
And not only that, so the Netflix special had one of the highest attendance and viewership for Netflix. The UFC pay-per-view was on that exact same time, and they had one of the lowest attendance ever.
Oof. Big oof.
Which is funny because Ronda Rousey hates TKO. Absolutely hates them, so this is kind of like a big middle finger to them.
Hey, gotta respect that. I know that Ronda Rousey has ruffled a lot of feathers when it comes to the professional wrestling world. I can't say with authority where her mindset is when it comes to that, but as a business person, she definitely won when it comes to revenue and numbers on that night.
Yeah, and we'll get into more about Ronda. There's some things I agree with her, some things I don't, but that'll be interesting. But next up, WWE hitting people with reaction copyright strikes, TikTok and Instagram, and YouTube, I believe, as well, and Twitter. But I believe they're also starting their own WWE club where they would control like people's reactions to it. So they would have like a WWE official reaction channel or something like that. So what are your thoughts about people getting copyright strikes on WWE events?
So I have a couple of people that do the live reacts as they happen, like watching it on Twitch. Like they don't really like show what's happening, but they'll like commentate over it. And so I kind of have a bias when it comes to that. I also have a bias when it comes to getting the content that you're creating struck down. And it's just an unfortunate. It's unfortunate because like they're picking on like all of these people that do the live streaming react events. Like they're such a drop in the bucket compared to like the wealth of profit that they're making, and then you can't even bother to let these people have a little bit of the crumbs that fall off the table, you know. So, of course, obviously, if it was me and I was controlling a multi-billion-dollar company, I would want to make sure that that everything was tight and that nobody was making money off of my brand. I understand that. But it does seem like, just like what you said, that they're setting something up so that they can have a controlled environment where the right people will say the right things about their content. And you know that there's going to be people out there that will toe the line and, you know, spew the propaganda and essentially get their marching orders and say, oh yes, no, WrestleMania 1 was a very good show compared to night 2 or whatever it is. Will that make me want to watch these creators? No. I barely have time to watch the actual product as it is, let alone somebody reacting to it. And if I were to, you know, take a look at what like WWE has been doing when it comes to like their hype videos, they will show these creators in their rooms with the RGB lights in their Shure microphones reacting to these things. So it's so weird to me. But then again, it's not like surprising that WWE would want to once again clamp down on people using their content for their content.
Now, do you feel that's hypocritical because they're shutting down people from reacting to their stuff, but they're showing the reaction to their stuff on their TV? Like, for example, Backlash. They showed everyone surprised on stream reacting to it. So they're not allowed to use their reaction to it on their stream, even though they're not using the video. But WWE can use their reaction from their channel on WWE TV.
So yes, absolutely, that is a hypocritical stance, but this is my Theo theory when it comes to it. I feel like maybe some of these creators that they're putting on their programming are actually plants, the same type of stunt grannies that you would see in the old flea market days, where a bad guy would come out and shove down a granny to get people to boo him, and then in the back they're shaking hands and going, oh, that was great, whatever. In my mind, I have a Theo theory that these clips that they're showing of these people reacting to this content are people that they're already good with. And so they'll reach out to them and say, hey, can we get you to do this? Or, hey, do you mind if we use your likeness on our programming? Because there is a process when it comes to using people on their programming, obviously. So
did you what? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I lost my train of thought.
Okay. So did you watch the SmackDown episode with the gingerbread man, his funeral?
Unfortunately, I missed that. But I did hear some things.
So they had a video package for the gingerbread man, and they put him in different like historical stuff. So he was there for like Andre and Hogan. He was there at like a strip club with Trick Williams and stuff. But then there's also one where they took out a streamer reacting to stuff and put the gingerbread man in. So their background, like all the RGB lights behind them, they were all shown.
Interesting. I do know that a lot of people had a lot of things to say about that gingerbread man, because they were like using AI to put him in like big moments at like WrestleMania where Hogan slammed Andre, or when Benoit and Eddie Guerrero were celebrating at the end of WrestleMania. Everything's turned to shit. We're throwing AI gingerbread men in the programming. Incredible.
So next up, so this will be a very interesting topic because there's a certain part of the world where bombs are going off, there's wars, and TKO says they're firmly moving ahead with scheduled events in Saudi Arabia and the region for both WWE and UFC.
Incredible.
And despite a challenging environment. And it says they will not withdraw financial commitment in Saudi Arabia and the region. So as a wrestler, let's say they tell you, you have to go to this area. You have to go to the Middle East. You have to go to these places that have wars going on. How would you feel knowing that they're telling you you have to go there?
Well, if we're talking about the Saudi Arabia blood Arab money, brother, I don't care if we're in the middle of World War III. I'm going and I'm getting paid, brother. That's how I kind of personally feel about it. I will do it, but like I remember when they first started going to do these shows, and I remember watching it on the WWE network. This is how long ago it was. And I remember just feeling so uneasy because it was just a different like vibe over there. I mean, now I'm kind of desensitized to it, and like now they had the Royal Rumble there, that they're going to have WrestleMania there. I've kind of been like, okay, well, I guess it's just another show. Remember that they had that one unfortunate incident where I guess everybody was kind of stranded at the airport, and
Yeah, stranded.
They putting my girl Roxanne Perez in danger.
I mean,
I'm
if I
going
was
to.
exactly, if I were one of these ladies, I would be a little bit more fearful. Obviously, it does seem like they're trying to, renovate their image and try to, put up a good PR and stuff like that. But like, obviously, all of this that's going on right now, we're not going to talk. We're not going to jump into politics or anything like that. But all of this,
we're going to keep that out.
yeah, all of this unfortunately just seems to be like again, it's all about money. It's all about money. These people are going to be spending a lot of money in order to get this show, and safety be damned, they're gonna see it through. And this is an unfortunate turn that could happen. Like, what if let's just say something terrible does happen? There's a bus flip, for an example, and that's just a saying. Like, let's just say that something happens where a huge contingency of the biggest stars in professional wrestling are caught up in the mix of all of this. And then what? What happens after then? It seems like the risk might be worth the reward. But if anything, it's definitely going to get more eyes on the product, because obviously everybody's going to want to see what happens. And so it just seems to be another self-fulfilling prophecy. And like Jordan Fadeaway is saying over on YouTube, stranger things have happened. Now CM Punk is going to the Saudi Arabia shows, and he's tried to make amends. Yeah, he apologized. He ate his word. So I mean, I guess that payday's good enough for him to swallow his pride and see it through. So yes, I would get that blood money. I would get that Arab money.
One thing I find weird that nobody noticed is the switch up. And what I mean by that is they used to do tribute to the troops, but now they're doing Saudi Arabia shows. So they kind of switch things up there.
I'm sure
Shout out
JBL
to
would love to
Roxanne.
have a word about that, who I believe is one of the people that was the biggest names to get that thing off the ground, the tribute to the troops show.
Yeah. Oh, and RVD also got his push stopped because of that, because he refused to go.
Interesting. Crazy to think, and now he's a WWE Hall of Famer, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yes.
Wow. So, I mean, good for
And
him.
speaking of future or current Hall of Famers, let's talk about the John Cena Classic.
Oh, yes. Let's go.
So this is described as a show of NXT talent against WWE talent. He said it's going to be like Saturday night's main event back in December, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
They're debuting a championship with it. The audience votes to crown the champion of the John Cena Classic. Every participant qualifies, including the losers. What are your thoughts on this?
So this is essentially a popularity contest. You don't have to be the best wrestler. You don't have to have the best physique. You don't have to have the office behind you. You don't have to know the right people. You just have to have the people behind you, which, if they're actually going this way and not, dressing it up that way, but, knowing who's going to be signed or not signed after the fact. I feel this is a perfect opportunity for the NXT superstars to mix it up with the main roster guys and see what they're really made of. I like the idea of it. I'm just afraid that they will shitify it, as they have been doing with most of these things. And you have to think about the business side of it as well. Let's just say you're going to have to do business with an NXT guy who may not have the experience that you have. Who's not to say that you might get hurt if they don't know what they're doing, or they buckle under the pressure. There's a lot of ways that this can go wrong. But I feel if things are presented the way that it's being presented in the back, the same way that it's being presented to us as the audience, it has potential to make some new stars. And the people that are on the main roster should actually really take into consideration that these people might be called up and take their spots. So sitting on the one side of the guardrail, you can think, oh, this is going to be great. We get to see all of these new matchups. It's going to be fresh and new. We're going to see these new people come up. But then, if you are a performer on one of these main shows, you have to be kind of concerned and kind of worried that your spot may be taken up by somebody that is coming up. So obviously, your job in the ring is to make your opponent look good and, obviously be safe.
Have you ever had to deal with an unruly
There's
fan
a lot.
or someone
There's a
that
lot
just
of
jumped
different
into the
things
ring
that could
without
go
your
down.
knowledge?
I'm interested to see what's going to happen. And, with the John Cena championship, I guess, being on the line, do you think that it's going to be the spinner belt?
Oh, it's possible. I wonder what the logo would be.
Maybe it's John Cena's bald spot in the spinner.
He's got it fixed though, remember? Well, partially fixed with the Turkish doctors.
It can only do so much. Maybe he needs to go to that MJF.
It was so bad like a couple of years ago.
Oh,
it was
it
like
was.
almost like a Hulk Hogan hair there.
Yeah, I couldn't even watch the match or enjoy it. I was just staring at that bald spot the whole time. But I mean, kudos to John Cena for getting it done. I mean, obviously pro wrestling is a visual based industry, so you got to get that stuff done.
And John Cena also announced too he's never going to take a bump again. He said physically he's done for the rest of his life.
Hey, he deserves it. More power to him. He seems to be the type of person that will stay retired and never, go back on it. So when he says something like that, I absolutely believe it.
And then I have a quote from Lance Storm, fellow Canadian too, by the way, who has a interesting point about this John Cena Classic, and I want to hear your thoughts as a 20-year veteran. He says, when getting the championship, getting the push, potentially facing a less experienced NXT worker, why would I want to make them look good and potentially earn them votes, which
only
could sabotage my
training.
career? If I'm a $500,000 main roster guy and I'm in there with a $75,000 a year NXT guy, why would I use my skill and my experience to make him look good? Because if he wins the popularity contest and wins, he gets the push to the championship. I could lose my job. Because there's going to be a TKO executive going, well, why are we not paying this guy why are we paying this guy that lost the fan vote and is less over than this NXT guy that works for less money? If I know ahead of time, hey, you're getting a push, we want to protect this guy, okay? I'll make him look good. But if I don't know who's winning or losing the actual fan vote, it's no longer my interest to make the guy look good. You've completely contradicted the entire basis that this industry has been founded on, and that's the predetermined nature, which allows us to go and present the story that's been predetermined. But with the vote happening afterwards to see who the fans want, it's no longer a predetermined sport. I'm no longer wanting to give all to make someone look good. So what are your thoughts on Lance Storm saying that?
Lance Storm continues with the very good takes. Great minds think alike, actually. I didn't even read that article. I didn't hear what Lance Storm had to say about it. So it's interesting that myself and Lance Storm kind of align when it comes to the business side of things, doing business with the person that you're working with, someone that may be less experienced. So again, I'm going to have to absolutely co-sign on what Lance was saying right there. And he does have some excellent takes. So if you haven't done so already, guys, if you're looking for a very fair and stern and balanced look at the who, when, what, where, and whys of professional wrestling, Lance Storm would be the one that you would want to go to. He's a good northern star when it comes to that type of stuff. But to that point, yes, no, absolutely true. If you're going to go out there and do business with somebody that makes less money than you, that has a potential to take your spot, where is the incentive to do the good business? Obviously, you want to be known as somebody that does good business, but at the same time, we're talking about millions of dollars, worth of potential revenue, and we're talking about sponsorships, and we're talking about literal money being left on the table. So it's unfortunate that it has to be that way, but I feel like that breeds the best type of competition because there's real stakes. You got some real skin in the game. So to remain optimistic and not to be so down and dreary on the business side of things, this could potentially be a way for people to be a little bit more inspired and a little bit more motivated to do their best work out there in the ring.
And Landstorm and you both have good points. Now let's talk about someone who has a horrible point, one of the dumbest opinions I've ever seen, which is from Jonathan Coachman, which I was never a big fan of him. He was worse than Mike Adamle as the Raw GM. I didn't like him as an announcer. I didn't like him as a wrestler. And that is Jonathan Coachman, who says Danhausen experiment is a waste of time and he's over it and it's failing. What do you think about Danhausen and the coach's opinion on this?
So right now, Danhausen is one of the biggest money makers for WWE. And to Danhausen's credit, it is all based on his ideas. He has copyrighted his name, his likeness, all of his sayings. He's a savvy businessman. So all of the money that WWE is making is based off of the copyrighted material that Danhausen is providing them. So obviously now he's doing a lot more in terms of crossover appeal. He's doing a lot of ESPN spots. He's doing that Goodyear blimp gimmick. He had that huge segment at WrestleMania. Danhausen right now, they say that usually the best revenge is success. Danhausen is so big right now, he doesn't need concern himself with the opinions of people that are, not in the industry like that anymore. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that the coach is actually doing a podcast with Vince Russo now, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. So it just kind of goes to show, like, if it just seems like Coachman is punching up here. I'm going to have to agree with what you said. I wasn't really a fan of his backstage correspondence, his in-ring work, or anything of that sort, his announcing. But he has been to the big shows. He has been there. So I can't say with any authority that what he's doing and what he's saying is wrong, because he is, comparatively better versed in this than I am. But as an outside observer, it just seems like, if I were to be gracious with my opinion, he's probably just saying these things because he wants to get a buzz around his name. And obviously, we're talking about him right now, so mission accomplished.
Yeah, and I think it was last night or the day before at the Knicks games, Danhausen was all over that because he at first cursed the Knicks and then they started losing. He uncursed them, then cursed the Cavs, and the Cavs lost. So everyone's just like, the curse is real. The curse is real. Thank you. Please keep cursing them. So he was all over SportsCenter. He was on the Knicks game. He got tickets. They're his guests. He's wearing the jersey. He's everywhere. Like, this has been a slam dunk for WWE. Now, the question I have is this the biggest or the second biggest flop by Tony Khan, letting Danhausen go, or Cody Rhodes?
Wow. Now that you mention it, yeah, I mean, you can also throw CM Punk in the mix there as well. Absolute fumble on Tony Khan's part, but like at the same time, the AEW roster is so stacked top to bottom, and they're just different companies. Danhausen doesn't need to wrestle. AEW seems to be more of a wrestling-focused company, whereas WWE kind of relies on storytelling and characters. Maybe Danhausen was just a bad fit in a primarily wrestling-focused promotion. And, I mean, the proof is obvious. He is thriving in the WWE right now. He has instant recognizable branding. Everybody knows who he is now. And to think, off of that disastrous debut at the time, you didn't think that he was going to stick the landing, but like now he's, from what I understand, one of like the biggest merchandise pushers in WWE right now. I think the second most profitable merchandise pusher in the entire company, and that's in the same company as like Roman Reigns and CM Punk and a Cody Rhodes. So I mean, you can't deny what WWE has done with the Danhausen brand, and it's just a matter of being in the right place with the right creative minds behind it, because of course all of this like cloning stuff that he has going on and all of the synergy that Danhausen has had with all of these other promotions like ESPN and all of that stuff, just like what you said. It was a huge fumble on Tony Khan's end, but I feel like it was because he just wasn't a good fit for AEW, more so than anything.
Now the question is, let's play a little devil's advocate here. How do you think Danhausen would have been treated under Vince McMahon?
Well, there'd be a lot more scat jokes, a lot of fart jokes. He'd probably be like disrespecting women. It's weird with Vince because he does have a great mind for the industry, but he does have that old man set in his ways type thing. And you know, the world has moved on, you know, from the things that we would consider entertainment in wrestling back in the day compared to what it is today. Obviously, it's a lot more sterile. It's a lot more safe for advertisers and stuff. If it was Vince, he would probably have him do his goofy stuff, but it wouldn't resonate with the crowd the same way because he wouldn't lean into the ironic humor of it all. He probably wouldn't appreciate the fact that like he does a goof, like obviously with like his exit where it's like, oh, we botched it or whatever. I don't think he would get that humor. So at least in terms of what WWE is doing currently with Danhausen, it's firing on all cylinders. I don't think it could have been recreated any other way, even under Vince McMahon.
I think if Vince actually had control of Danhausen, every single segment would be in black and white. I think he would be like a little cowardly person that gets beat by its owner, like a Frankenstein and Eeyore. So that I think he would kind of like made him a sad little creature, which I'm so glad Vince is not there for this. Because this is perfect the way it's going.
You're here.
And not only that, so Danhausen signed with Adventure Media. So they focus on growing people's IPs in film, TV, digital, publishing, and other business. So he's about to go to the next level as well.
He's gone mainstream.
And you know what his last real name is?
Can't say that I know.
So Danhausen's last name in real life is Danhausen.
No
you know what
shit.
his first name is?
Dan?
Yeah, he's Danhausen.
Are you kidding? Are you ribbing me, bro?
Someone found his yearbook.
How very Danhausen to do that.
Yeah, so now we go from one of the hottest acts to self-proclaimed baddest bitch on the planet. That is the Ronda Rousey. So what was your overall thoughts on Ronda's 2 runs with the WWE?
So the first run, like the novelty of it was still there. The luster of it all was still there. The crossover appeal was there. I wasn't really into the UFC, but I was familiar with Ronda Rousey. So the idea to have a legitimate UFC fighter in the mix in WWE was obviously something that I was interested in. Unfortunately, the luster kind of fell off, and especially during the second run, Ronda was kind of exposed, but obviously she doesn't have the same the same equity in her in-ring abilities as most of the others would be. Once she did lose to Liv Morgan, I see now how the career trajectory of Liv has taken off and where Ronda Rousey is now. She has been good business for WWE and professional wrestling as a whole. She even did a little bit of a run in Ring of Honor with Tony Khan in AEW, which really didn't amount for anything. It just almost seems like Ronda Rousey is doing side quests now. She already conquered the main scenario quest, so now she's just dipping her toe into other things. When it first started, I was interested, but after a while, she kind of got exposed, and I really wasn't that interested anymore. And she's very opinionated. She has a very strong opinion of things, and I love hearing what she has to say about these things because a lot of it is true.
Now, do you believe when she first came in, megastar, amazing, right into the main events, everything was pumped up, but throughout her first run at the end, it kind of felt flat, almost like the mystique was gone and she was just another person, almost like she couldn't live up to the hype?
Yeah, it's the mystique. The mystique definitely faded off, and she definitely just became another member of the roster. And this is where I guess you can kind of put Brock Lesnar into this equation, because obviously when he's on the show, it's a big deal, and it's a big deal because he's not on every show. But once you see Ronda Rousey on a Monday Night Raw every week, again, like the luster kind of wears off. So absolutely, they probably could have, and that's a double-edged sword too. You want to get the most out of your investment with Ronda by having her on as many shows as possible. But then you also expose her as being someone that's very green and very new to all of this stuff. So, I mean, she's capable as a fighter, but, sometimes that doesn't translate. They all can't be Kurt Angle. They all can't just take to it like a duck to water sometimes. There's obviously a learning curve there. So if they kind of dialed back on all of her appearances and all of her in-ring stuff, maybe it would have been a different story. But as it stood, her stint in the WWE those 2 times, and then plus with her run in Ring of Honor and AEW for that time, it just seemed like supplementary stuff, because she was doing bigger paydays and bigger events, obviously on Netflix and with the UFC and all of that. So if we're grading on a curve here, all of the WWE stuff, I feel like actually kind of pales in comparison to the rest of her body of work.
Oh yeah, she was a much bigger star in UFC, but there is a difference between her in UFC and WWE as well. Is most of her fights, I should say, in UFC, they were under 20 seconds, most of them. So you didn't really see a long period of Ronda fighting. With WWE, there could be like 20-minute matches. So it's like a different animal altogether.
And maybe it goes exactly to what I was saying. Obviously, less is more in professional wrestling. If you want to like distill it down to its essentials, less is more. You want to get more with less, and when you're out there all the time, it just doesn't seem as special anymore.
Yeah, and we have a quote from Ronda Rousey. I felt like I was doing someone else's impression of myself. You can tell when I was allowed to write my own promos and when I wasn't. I learned a lot from it. I really enjoyed my time in the ring. I didn't enjoy being under the death throes of Vince McMahon's reign, but there were a lot of great experiences in there. So when celebrities come in, especially other fighters from different promotions, do you believe they should be allowed to write their own promos or free live it?
It all really depends on the person. Some people can go out there and be naturally charismatic. Some people can be a wordsmith, and some people can really, find their voice and connect with the crowd. Other times, people have to have every single syllable written out for them. It really depends on a case-by-case basis.
Now, how would you rank Ronda Rousey on the mic, her promos?
Oh my goodness, not very good. Not very good.
Same. Like, it was so rough. It's almost like she's trying to be, like she said, someone else when she's just not talking through herself.
When you have a writer's room full of 30 people writing promos for people that they're not familiar with, it's bound to happen.
And also, another thing, I feel like Ronda didn't understand the wrestling business. So she thought it was like UFC, you make yourself look good, you do your stuff, you go in, you go out. She didn't understand the whole concept of working together, creating a story that people get invested in, and having a great match because of that. And now we're going to have a clip where she's talking to Chris Van Lay about how she hated Vince McMahon, hated work for him, and just wanted to have a good match.
Based.
Was there an anxiety of like the match would end and then you'd have that walk from the ring to the back and you're like, what's going to happen when I get through this curtain? Like what's the reception going to be like in Gorilla? Is this going to be received well? Was there ever anxiety there?
No, I don't give a shit about that.
Damn.
I don't care.
I don't know. You could get through and Vince could be like, hey, that sucked.
Well, I didn't really give a fuck what Vince thought.
Damn.
To be honest.
So if you're in that situation, would you give a fuck what Vince thought?
If I was in Ronda Rousey's position, absolutely. Because I would agree, because I feel like she is beyond the WWE. WWE is a side quest for her, not the main scenario. So I feel like if I was in Ronda Rousey's shoes, absolutely, I would think the same way. And then again, based off of personal experiences, you could be the best wrestler in the world. You could be the best hand. You could be a valuable asset to a company or to a promotion or to a person. And it won't matter as long as that one person up top doesn't think the same way. So, yeah, I'm going to have to ride with Ronda on this one.
Now, do you think that maybe she should have been a little bit more open to advice or criticism or anything like that?
Absolutely. On the same side of that, absolutely, because you were taking the spot of somebody who has slaved away in the training center, someone that has gone up and down the road, somebody that has, put in the time and the effort, and it started from nothing to try and get to the spot that Ronda Rousey just slid into. So a little bit of humility would go a long way when it comes to that type of stuff. If she's feeling that in her heart of hearts, then of course, by all means, but also understand and recognize that the position that she was put into is something that is revered and something that people spend their entire lives trying to achieve and get to.
I just wanted to have a great match. And sometimes I felt like instead of like enabling us to have a great match, we were like fighting against him in order to have a great match. And once it was done and on the, like once I was in there and like in the moment and lost in it, like there's no better feeling than when you're in it and you believe the story, and
yes,
you're
this
out
is
there
true.
with your friends and you're having a blast. But it was like we had to march through like the marsh, like what was it? What were the marshes called in Lord of the Rings?
The fact that Ronda Rousey knows Lord of the Rings is amazing.
Oh my gosh! Wow, I don't know.
The dead marshes.
Yeah.
You're not even the dead marshes. What
She calls herself a fan.
Never-ending story where Artax. But it was like the
Yeah, and especially a lot of women and men too around this time with Vince McMahon had the same thought too.
the swamps of sadness. I was just going through the swamps of sadness, just trying to be able to walk into the arena. And then once like the music hit, I was like, "Fuck you! I'm out. We're gonna have a great time." And we come back, and then I come back to the curtain. I'm like, "Fuck you! I'm going to my baby. I don't want to get shit unless you actually have a plan for next week, which you don't. You don't have a fucking plan. I'm trying to get any information all week long, and then no one's gonna tell me shit until I get to the arena, and I'm still not gonna hear anything for hours."
Now, this part here is very similar to WCW because a lot of people would say the plans, the TV, the matches would not even be mocked up, would not even be thought about. It would be written on the spot as the show is going on. So as a wrestler, how frustrated would that be?
Well, I would be frustrated. I would be more frustrated if I wasn't so used to it. This is not surprising to me. Things literally change right before you walk out of the curtain. So this doesn't surprise me at all. I'm sure this is a culture shock for Ronda because she probably never had to deal with it in professional wrestling, but this is all par for course for wrestling. I'm not defending it at all. I think there could be a better way, but there's so many different ways and scenarios that situations can go sideways, whether it be business, whether it be personal. It could be the most innocuous, dumb things that kind of get in the way of a good story or a good match or good business or anything of the sort. So again, not surprised. If Ronda was a little bit more acclimated to the industry, she might be a little bit more tolerant of it. But then again, this is the same industry and the same company that, would shun people for putting their hands up if they were being hit with a steel chair in the head. You were supposed to take it straight to the dome, which obviously now is a huge no-no. So I guess the larger conversation could be, what are these established things that go on in this industry that are happening now that could potentially be improved upon, quality of lifestyle later on in life? So this could stand to be a good example of that.
And it always gets chalked up to, yeah, that's wrestling for you.
There it is.
I'm sure you heard that a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just wrestling.
And they're like, "So when are you coming back?" I'm like, "I'm gonna go write a graphic novel. Come talk to me later. I need a break. I need to freaking breathe right now. I'm gonna go make some babies and like,
Yeah, so her first run was 1 year. She went off to make a baby, and then she came back like 2 years later. So it makes me wonder too. She couldn't handle 1 year of that, but there's people that does 20 plus years. So do you think Ronda was made for wrestling in general?
I think it's not a good fit for her. She's too outspoken. She doesn't have the blinders on, like, because professional wrestling is a cult. Like, it really is. When you sit there and actually think about it, all of the free labor, all of the time and effort and money that you put into it for the off chance that somebody takes a look at you and goes, yes, we want to put you up on the pedestal and we want to make you the guy or the girl. We want to have you be the centerpiece. You'll have people that strive and try to do everything that they can. They do everything the right way. They dedicate themselves only for them to be cast aside or not utilized in the way that they wanted to, hopefully. Whereas a Ronda Rousey could just step right in and go, all right, well, hand everything to me. There is a sort of entitlement there, but there could also be breaking free or not submitting to the programming of being a aspiring professional wrestler. So I could see both sides of it. If I had that Ronda Rousey fuck you money, if I had that Ronda Rousey fuck you status, of course I would lean into that, because if I, now knowing what I know over the course of my career, had that same equity in my name, I would probably go that route too. Because I could see it on both ends of it.
But Vince being gone really changes things a lot. I do love Triple H and I love Steph. And I think they're fucking fantastic. And
He's trying to get that
I just need
payday.
to get over my.
Yeah, and she never got to work under Triple H and Stephanie, which I wonder how different it would be.
I think it would actually be a lot better because that first match that Ronda Rousey had with Triple H, I think, and Kurt Angle and Stephanie McMahon, that was probably one of her best matches that she has ever had.
Yeah, and I feel like under Triple H, she would be more open, so promos would not be written for maybe bullet points, so it'd be a little bit more natural too.
Mm.
And then Ronda spoke on her first and second run in WWE. The second run, Vince McMahon was more far gone and more difficult to work with. There was a lot of inner turmoil going on in the company. It was kind of a shit show. This is around the time the Janelle Grant stuff was happening.
Oh my.
And nobody ever knew what was going on. You would get to the arena and you'd be made to do something that someone threw in your lap that hadn't thought about it until 50 minutes before. Everything was super last minute and not well thought out, and there was no communication, no back and forth. Any attempt to collaborate felt like they were trying to negotiate something as opposed to partner together to make it something great. I love being out there in the ring and doing it, but the process was just such a clusterfuck shit show that it was so much more anxiety than it was worth. I just look back at it and remember the anxiety of not knowing what was going on, and then at the last minute, maybe we'd be able to pull it out of our ass and have a good night. And maybe not. I was definitely Team Triple H to get up and take over. I heard it's been much better since he's taken over, but unfortunately, I didn't get to experience it. So that is more of the, here you go, do this 15 minutes before you go out there.
Yep, and that was definitely
part
of
that
course.
was under Vince McMahon. A lot of men and women had the same opinion too.
Mm-hmm. So nothing new there. Yep, pretty much singing to the choir.
Now she has a quote as well. I'm very aware that women are headlined in WWE because of me. What do you think of that quote right there?
Well, of course you want to take credit for that. I feel like if you were to really put a name to that, I would say Lita, Trish Stratus, Molly Holly, bro. Like, I feel like the women during the Attitude Era going into out of the Diva era into the actual professional wrestling era, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, Sasha, Becky Lynch. Like, I could put a bunch of names before Ronda Rousey when it comes to that statement.
Yeah, and especially when she was there for 1 year, and a lot of her matches were choreographed. A lot of the Becky Lynch, Bayley, some of those were more called on the spot. I think people like Becky and Bayley and Lita and Trish did more for headlining than Ronda did. She was the very first women's WrestleMania main event, but there was also Becky and Charlotte there too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can't just say it's because of me. It's because of everyone there.
Yes, and if Ronda had a better wrestling mind, she probably could have just put her name with the others to say that all of us brought women to the forefront into the main events of WrestleMania and stuff. But she decided to just put it all on her, which I guess was a choice.
Yeah, we have a quote from Ronda Rousey that shows you she didn't really understand the business. Like, no one smarted her up. So this is a quote from Ronda Rousey. The fact that they had me fighting Alexa Bliss at all was fucking ridiculous. So this was SummerSlam for the world title. And you want to know why they had me against Alexa Bliss? Because she had the most merch sales at the time. Like, what the fuck? That's your decision-making process? What is your thought on Ronda Rousey not understanding why she's going against the Women's World Champion at SummerSlam, who's the biggest merch seller?
So, unfortunately, yeah, that just adds another to the pile of Ronda not having the wrestling mind for it, and especially the business side of it. If you are in a program with somebody that's making the most money, then guess what? You are also going to be making the most money. And it just goes to show that there was something lost in translation there, because if you are working with somebody that makes a lot of money, then you're going to make a lot of money too. It just seems like maybe she was a little bit misguided or unaware on this one.
So the weirdest response to this was not from a WWE fan, was not from a WWE wrestler, but was from an AEW wrestler. So take a guess at who replied to this.
Nyla Rose.
No, it's a male from AEW who's very outspoken.
Trent Beretta.
No, I'll give you one guess, and that is 3 letters.
Oh my goodness. Evil Uno. No, I'm just kidding. MJF.
Yeah. So MJF puts this out as a response to that. It's almost like pro wrestling, much like any professional sport, functions as a business. Fucking crazy.
Look at that. 2 for 2. Me, Lance Storm, me, and MJF just aligning perfectly when it comes to this stuff.
And then Ronda said her final match, which was against Shayna Baszler, was a big middle finger to all the fans on the way out.
Yeah, neither one of them are in WWE now. So how did that work out?
So I'm going to ask you a few questions about Ronda here, because this is the most popular things that people disliked Ronda for. So after her WWE runs, she publicly criticized the industry, not just WWE, but the industry, and openly referred to pro wrestling as fake, which veterans and fans saw as a slap in the face to the hard work put in by the roster.
Agreed. They say it's fake. It doesn't feel fake. All right. The shit hurts and it piles up and it catches you off guard. And then one day you try to get up out of bed and then you realize you can't move your hip the same way that you used to. So yeah, I do kind of take umbrage to that. Almost sounds like she's just trying to stir up shit. It also sounds like she doesn't know what she's talking about. But again, she is way above all of us, watching wrestling, and way above people that are in wrestling. So,
and then we have Dark Side Ronda. When fans began booing her during feuds, she struggled to handle the heat. She routinely blamed creative decisions, her opponents, and the fans rather than adapting.
She did everything right. She did nothing wrong.
And then many observers felt she relied too heavily on her MMA background instead of learning to sell matches and make her opponents look good.
Mm-hmm.
She was accused of approaching wrestling with a shoot-fight mentality that hurt the storytelling.
Agreed. And there are some people that come through in professional wrestling that are legitimate fighters, and they try to implement that into their matches and actually kind of lean into people that way, trying to, I guess, flex their abilities, which is not the case in professional wrestling. You want to work with the person that you're working with, not against them. So a little bit of humility could have gone a long way again.
And then some said she had kid gloves on, so she was gifted immediate main event pushes and championship fights right out of the gate. Fans and other wrestlers grew tired of this preferential treatment. especially when she was injuring people and being stiff. She struggled to execute moves or connect with the audience compared to homegrown talent.
And this is another symptom of professional wrestling that I hope is cured one of these days, but I don't see it happening. You could be one of the best hands. You can be one of the best workers. You can be one of the safest people to work with. But if you have somebody that walks in the door that has a little bit more equity in their name, a little bit more star power, it doesn't matter. They're going to be pushed to the forefront because they're going to make the company more money.
Yeah. And then in a turn that's really, really funny, so we saw WWE copyright striking and cease and desist to streamer reactors. Cody Rhodes of WWE was sent a cease and desist from Nintendo due to the Legend of Zelda Ring Gear tribute.
Nintendo loves their IPs, and I'm not surprised by this one at all. Cody is a huge video game fan, and paying homage to Zelda, which is a classic, obviously, very good taste when it comes to that type of stuff. I'm not surprised by it. Obviously, if you're going to put somebody else's branding or symbols on another product in front of millions of people, obviously that's going to cause some ire over at the bigwigs at Nintendo.
And then the last news story, this is just a funny thing. Obviously, he's just pumping himself up, trying to get attention and stuff. And obviously, you want to promote yourself really good. Jey Uso, the Yeetster, says, I'm really the best in the game right now, at the highest level, close to 2 decades.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong, but he's not right either. There are compilations of him screwing up spears and spots and neck breakers and stuff like that. But then there's also the rest of his body of work over the 2 decades, close to 2 decades that he's been doing this. He is, without question, one of the best tag team wrestlers on the planet. There's no taking that away from him. When he first debuted the Yeet stuff, obviously everybody loved it. And in true WWE fashion, they milked that dry, and now people are starting to be repulsed by it all. I feel like this is just more stirring the pot, getting people to talk about you, putting stuff out there like that. Obviously, you want to build up yourself as a brand. So I see this being, it's just another day at the office when it comes to promoting yourself in the WWE machine.
Now, do you think him winning at WrestleMania versus Gunther basically was the start of the end for the Yeet movement?
Yes. That tap out finish was just so weird. Of all people to do that, it just seemed very weird to me. But I mean, at the time, they were really putting that rocket ship on his back, and I guess hindsight's 2020. Gunther has gone on to retire AJ Styles, John Cena, Goldberg, and it almost looks like he's going to be lined up to retire Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. So it's just crazy to think of the career trajectories of these two after that WrestleMania match.
And also, John Cena, for the first time ever, tapped out, too.
Wow. I didn't even think about that factoid.
So, Gunther's lowest point, losing to Jey Uso because he tapped out, turned into his biggest moment when he made John Cena tap out.
Makes you think. I remember when Charlotte Flair first debuted on the main roster. I think she wrestled Natty and lost to her. And like tapped out, submission, everything. And they said, oh, Charlotte's buried. She's never going to recover from this. And now she's recognized as one of the top tier legitimate female wrestlers in WWE and perhaps in all of professional wrestling. So it kind of gives you a better perspective on these things, because we could sit here and say, oh, Jey Uso is this, that, and the other. We could say that Gunther is this, that, or whatever, but professional wrestling is a what have you done for me recently type industry. And so you're only as good as your last match, and you're only as good as your last performance.
Do you think LA Knight could still be saved?
There's nothing to save. The big discourse about LA Knight being squandered or not being used properly, I feel like is the wrong way of looking at it. If I were to have an LA Knight career right now, I would consider that a wildly successful career. to be featured in promotional materials for Slim Jim, having the most matches on the roster this past year, being featured in huge WrestleMania mainstream matches featuring IShowSpeed and Logan Paul. To say that he's being underutilized, I feel like is a gross misrepresentation of his career right now. No, everybody can't be Roman Reigns. Only Roman Reigns can be Roman Reigns at the time. And if he stays the course and if he stays healthy, there may be an opportunity for him to get slotted in somewhere. But as it stands right now, I feel like he has nothing to worry about.
Okay. And then now we get to the WrestleMania review.
Wow, let's go.
And this is a personal one for me because I was in the building at the time.
Insane. That is awesome.
And not only that, I didn't realize it till I looked it up. So it was on March 17th, 2002. So it was on St. Patrick's Day. And this came from the Sky Dome in Toronto. On pay-per-view, 860,000 buys. Second WrestleMania from Toronto. And then 3.9 million grossed at the gate.
Which is chump change.
68,000 people in attendance.
To Nick Khan making 30-something million.
So this was a really weird one for the pre-show, the Sunday Night Heat. Did you end up watching this?
You know what? I did miss that, but I did look at the results.
It is the weirdest team I've ever seen. So we had Rikishi, Scotty 2 Hotty, and Albert defeat Mr. Perfect, Lance Storm, and Test in 3 minutes and 6 seconds.
So they probably wanted to give those guys a WrestleMania moment, have them wrestle in front of the WrestleMania crowd. It does seem like a smorgasbord of names that you would not see doing anything beyond that. So just like with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, sometimes with these gimmick battle royals, sometimes with these multi-man tag matches, they just want to try and get as many people out in front of the crowd as possible. So that's what I see that as.
It's very weird too. Lance Storm, another Canadian, but he wasn't on the WrestleMania.
Well, they had Canadians top to bottom on this card, and I only recently this morning figured it out.
Well, not only that, it's Canadians and non-Americans.
Now that you mention it, that's right. Yeah.
So, very first match, opening. Oh, before I do that, I want to tell a little story.
Yeah, go for it.
So, it was funny. So, in the parking lot, so you know when people would dress up like Stone Cold or Hulk Hogan to events and stuff?
Yeah.
So, there was this one guy. He dressed up like Stone Cold. He had like the bald cap on, he had the vest on, he even had like a fake knee brace on. And he kept going in people's faces, going, "What? What? What?" And it was annoying as shit. So security kept talking to him, and he's being awesome. So he's like giving them the middle finger and stuff like that. And then it was so funny. Security just threw him to the ground and just started kicking the shit out of him.
Good.
And then everybody around him was just going, "What? What? What?" As soon every kick. It was hilarious.
I saw a sign in the crowd while I was watching the show this morning, and it said, "Can we stop with the what chants already?" And I was like, damn, this is 2002 when people were having signs with that.
Well, you know what the sad part is? You know when that started?
I need to be reminded because I try to block that shit out.
So this right here is March 2002. So the what chants started in August 2001.
Jesus. It's been
So not even a full year.
Been too long.
I feel like the what chants should only be for Austin because it ruins so much stuff.
Yeah, it ruins promos when people try to talk with the promo cadence that they've been told to do. I hate it.
Well, the best one was Jericho when he goes, "The way to beat that is just to keep talking so they can't say what."
Yeah, you have to just spew stream of consciousness, but that goes against everything WWE does when it comes to their promos. If you notice, they'd like to talk really slow and really deliberately because you got to know your audience. Professional wrestling fans are not exactly known for let's just be diplomatic here. Let's just say you have to know your audience, and with professional wrestling sometimes you have to talk real slow for them.
Well, it's funny too, guys. I saw a clip of The Undertaker. And it's like the time The Undertaker shut down the what chants and was in disbelief. And they're doing the what chants to him, and he goes, "Say what if you sleep with your sister?" And they just go, "What?" And you could see him shaking his head like, "You sick bastards."
Who would do that? Who?
Yeah, who would have sex with a family member, especially a cousin?
Disgusting.
Sick bastards. So first match, we have Rob Van Dam defeating William Regal for the Intercontinental title. How'd you like this match?
I love this match. We talked about this in other shows. You always want to have a really good opening match to set the tone for the rest of the night. I have a couple of notes here. It looked like William Regal was wearing his Intercontinental Championship upside down. Now, I don't remember if that was like intentional, if he was doing that as some sort of character thing, but that was the first thing that jumped to my mind when I saw him in his entrance. Another thing that kind of jumped out to me was the Darziak style dragon that was airbrushed on RVD's singlet. It was red and it looked very Darziak filled. It was a good opener. They were kind of rough at the beginning, obviously, like the jitters of being out in front of a crowd like that. But once it hit the second gear, they really started to jive. Everything was working as intended. It was a good opener, and it was a good way to start out the show because we had some shenanigans with the brass knuckles coming into play, RVD doing what he does best with those educated feet. And I just thought it was a good way to kick off the show.
And then that was followed up with DDP, who WWE absolutely fucked over in the invasion angle, defeating Christian to retain the European title in 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Of course, Christian would have his temper tantrums around this time.
Yep.
What's your opinion on this match?
So I feel like the match was good. It's good to see Diamond Dallas Page getting that showcase at WrestleMania. Diamond Dallas Page was one of my personal favorites in WCW. The Diamond Cutter, the whole presentation, him being a genuinely good person and a good person in a bad industry. It's good to see good people actually thriving in professional wrestling. Christian is a great hand in the ring. He's very capable, and it's so wild seeing like bright, like fresh-faced Christian with the long hair now knowing what he is now with the patriarchy and his gimmick in AEW. All of this was in service to have Christian do the big temper tantrum at the end of the match. I couldn't tell you one spot in that match. All I could tell you is that I do remember Christian having a little baby crying hissy fit at the end of the match, which was obviously the point of the match.
And of course, at the end, DDP, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. With his big smile, with his dentist teeth there.
Yeah.
And then the next one, I'm just going to group in together because it's the hardcore stuff. So we had Maven versus Goldust, no contest, because Spike Dudley won the hardcore title. And then Hurricane won the hardcore title. Mighty Molly then won the hardcore title. Christian then won the hardcore title. And then Maven finally won the hardcore title back and left in a cab.
So I liked what they did here. They kind of had this thread going across the entirety of the show. You went over all the bullet points, who won, who lost, but this happened throughout the entirety of the show. So they had all of the in-ring stuff, which was crazy. Which was crazy too, because I think Maven actually spoke on this on his YouTube channel, where he was supposed to do his trademark drop kick to Goldust holding a trash can, and he completely missed it. And so it completely fell flat. And so, sucks for Maven, but good for him. He got that opportunity at WrestleMania. And then also, you obviously want to work out in front of that crowd, in front of these people. But unfortunately, some of these guys like Hurricane Helms and Molly Holly and all of them were relegated to backstage stuff, Al Snow and all of that. But obviously you can't have everybody out there. So this was a good supplementary story that kind of threaded throughout the entirety of the show. And then it also, you know how I like to talk about the logistics of events. That also gave the crowd an opportunity and the stagehands the opportunity to tear down and build up the set for when the two groups that came out, Salvia, and Drowning Pool, if I'm not mistaken. God, I just watched it this morning and I can't even remember these two bands.
Yeah, playing Triple H's music.
Yeah, so I also appreciated why they had those backstage segments as well, because they needed to tear down and set up these instruments for the bands.
And then next up, we have one of the weirdest ones. Basically, leading up to this, Kurt Angle and Kane didn't really have a storyline, so they kind of threw them together at the last second. To me, they've had better matches. This was a very awkward match, with Kurt Angle defeating Kane in 10 minutes and 46 seconds.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that, or maybe I just watched this match in a good mindset. Kurt Angle and Kane, like, I know the build up to this match absolutely sucked, and yeah, you were absolutely correct. It just seemed like they didn't have anything for these two guys to do. I didn't appreciate it at the time how good of a big man Kane is. What a dominating force. What a presence. Very capable, very agile, very athletic. And then Kurt Angle is peak Kurt Angle. He's an absolute beast. So when they got in that ring together, at least when I watched it this morning, I had a great time watching the match. What I want to point attention to is this promo that Kurt Angle cut before the match. And one line in particular that he said that kind of threw me for a loop. And you can't say this stuff on television nowadays, but literally Kurt Angle goes, I'd rather shoot myself in the head, in his promo. And I must have been like caught off guard because I was like looking at something else. But when he said that, I was like, what? I don't remember him. Yeah, I don't remember him saying that. But I also want to point out during this match and in the 3 matches actually before this, and I made a note of this, every match started off hot. And I'm talking about like immediately into the action. They started brawling. They started fighting. None of like the standing around, none of the tie-ups, none of that happened. Nowadays, you want to make sure that each match is kind of different from each other. And if you started off 4 matches in a row so far in the same way, it would seem like to me either it was something that they weren't worried about at the time, or the agents for each one of these matches were not talking to each other. Because if I was starting off a match hot, I would go to the other agents and ask, are you guys starting off a match hot? Are you guys doing anything where it's just immediately into the action? Because I don't want to take away from that. So that was another note that I had for that match. The last note that I have for that match, which is an interesting one because it was literally the finish. Kane's shoulder was absolutely up for that pinfall. Kurt Angle did some sort of wheelbarrow roll, which then turned into a pin. You could obviously see Kane's shoulder up during the pinfall. The ref didn't see it, obviously, because he went for the 3. But other than that, I felt like it was an incredible match.
Yeah, there was a little miscommunication there. And then Kane's brother, Taker, The Undertaker, next fought Ric Flair. Hardcore match. And man, oh man, I love this match. This match right here is actually the longest match of the night. So it went 18 minutes and 47 seconds. I loved everything about this build-up because you have Ric Flair just around the corner previous November, revealed after the invasion angle as the majority owner along with Vince McMahon. They're now business partners. Vince and Ric Flair are beefing. Ric Flair, I think, beats Vince McMahon at Royal Rumble. And then he has an ultimate plan to get rid of WWE, and that is inject venom and poison into the WWE with the NWO, which, by the way, let's just call this right now, the WWE version of NWO just sucked ass.
Yes.
It was nothing like WCW. It was so watered down. They just felt like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
The whole appeal of WCW NWO was the chaos. You didn't know what they're going to do, where they're going to go, who they're going to attack. Like, for an example, when they picked up Rey Mysterio and threw him like a dart against the trailer. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, we're still talking about it to this day.
Exactly. And we had appearance by Arn Anderson, which I popped for. I was amazed at that. I love Arn Anderson.
An excellent spine buster, by the way. Yes. That was an awesome spot.
He still got it at that point, yeah. And also the build-up as well. turn into Undertaker versus Ric Flair. Then we saw David Flair turn up in the WWE, get absolutely brutalized by Undertaker, busted open in the shower bleeding. And then he actually had a match against The Undertaker, which The Undertaker destroyed him. David Flair did not even do one move against The Undertaker. And that brings us to Undertaker versus Ric Flair, which this match here is a very rare match where The Undertaker comes into WrestleMania as a heel. So think about that. Besides the Big Boss Man fight, what other WrestleManias was Undertaker a heel in?
I struggle to remember. I do not know.
So I think it's only the two. So what did you think? Undertaker versus Ric Flair.
So this was, again, another match that started off hot. Like, Ric Flair immediately went for Undertaker, and God, what a time capsule of the time. 2002, The Undertaker coming out to Limp Bizkit, bro, in the American Badass Undertaker motorcycle. Like, oh my God, like, take me back to those days, bro, when I didn't have to worry about paying bills and shit, because God, like,
the childhood, dude.
nothing, bro. Like, I look back at these shows, like, because we're watching the King of the Ring and we're watching WrestleMania 18, and it's just like, I barely see an ad. It's back to back, wall to wall wrestling. I'm not looking at product placements. I'm not looking at, I'm seeing people bleed.
The hype packages too.
Yeah, like the hype packages. Like, the WWE of today is just so wildly different. I don't think it's for people like me anymore. And obviously people that are growing up on today's WWE are going to look back on this era and go, this was my childhood. But like, nothing got me more excited hearing Limp Bizkit as The Undertaker came out on a motorcycle and just like did his thing. Like, incredible to think that like this is the same person that's now running AAA and calling the shots there, and you know, bringing that to the forefront. I have a couple of notes. Like I said, this was the 5th match in a row where they started off hot. They didn't do any tie-ups. They just went straight to brawling. There was this one Ric Flair thing that he always does in his matches. It's the up and over, where he's sent into the corner and he kind of flips over, lands on the apron, and then gets knocked off of there. He went for it and then completely like kind of got caught up between the middle and the top rope. And it almost looked like he broke his neck doing it. Like, it got caught in the ropes into the corner. And then he went for it again. And obviously the rest of the spot worked out the way it was intended. But I was watching it and I was like, Jesus Christ, the way that he went into the corner like that, he could have killed himself. So that was a really nasty spill that he took. But that wasn't the only one. I made a note about this. The Undertaker is no short guy. He's a tall dude. And he picks up Ric Flair off the top rope for a superplex. This had to be, you know, a good 6 feet on top of the 5 or 6 feet that the turnbuckles are. The tallest superplex I've ever seen. It looked like Ric Flair was in the air forever. And that's not to count like the superplex that Ric Flair took from Matt Hardy off that ladder that one time. That was just something that caught my eye. And then it wasn't just an assault on my site. Jim Ross had this really, really weird call during the match. And I wrote it down specifically in quotation marks, and I'm just going to say it off the top. He jerked him off the top rope. Jim Ross with that very sussy call. And I had to stop and rewind my Netflix to make sure that I didn't like hallucinate this, but nope. As I sit here talking to you, Jim Ross actually said he jerked him off the top rope. So a great match. Undertaker goes 10-0. A time capsule of the era. It was a match made for WrestleMania. Everything worked the way it should have, and the right person went over.
And also a fact about this WrestleMania, this is the last WWF branded WrestleMania as well. Because soon they would change to the WWE later this year.
They got the F out.
That's right. Next up, we have hometown hero, the big babyface, Edge, versus Booker T. And if you're going to put it in Toronto, and you're gonna have Edge as the babyface, I would expect a better storyline than who gets the shampoo ad.
Oh, Vince, sometimes you can't bat 1,000. This is probably the dumbest setup for a match, other than maybe Jericho spilling that coffee on Kane, that I could remember.
Oh yeah.
The notes that I have for this match are pretty much exactly what we just said. They're fighting over a shampoo sponsorship. They kept talking about the sponsorship. This felt like a story that could have been made for like a second tier show, not a WrestleMania. But I do want to make mention that after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches, we finally have a tie-up at the beginning of the match. So the streak has ended. Edge and Booker T actually did not start the match hot. They decided to go in with some graps at the beginning, and so I wanted to make a note of that.
And also, the shampoo angle was actually the second idea for this match. So the first idea was supposed to be a hair versus hair match. But Booker didn't want to shave his head, so they just changed it.
So, probably okay. Well, there you go.
So that was 6 minutes and 34 seconds. Next up, we got one of the biggest matches, which is Austin versus Scott Hall, dream match. Now, before we do that, we have a little audio that we're going to take because apparently WrestleMania 18 almost didn't happen for Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
What the?
So it happened to do with the border. So loading up here.
Shout out to Hall and Nash, by the way, the Outsiders.
So thankfully, we got to hear this story before Scott Hall passed.
Rest in peace. And again, Kevin Nash, one of the greatest pro wrestling minds, one of the greatest business side pro wrestling minds in the business, in the industry.
So he's going to talk about crossing the borders. However, they have a bunch of pills on them.
Uh-oh. Shocker.
So going through the Canadian border into Toronto with pills, and they probably make the dumbest mistake ever. Might want to turn the audio on. There you go.
Before you got there, Sean always drove. I never drive unless it's with I'm a kid. Right. If it's me and kid, then I have to drive. This kid's the only wheelman worse than me. Right. But then when Kev came, it's like we'd be stumbling out of the bar. Well, you gotta drive. Why? When you're the biggest, have more body weight. Like, So then I had to go to the 50 miles. I wouldn't get a buzz on the 50 miles outside the town. Everybody else would be just out of their minds.
There we go. Here we go.
Every drive with you was on the way to WrestleMania 18, crossing the border into Toronto. We're crossing the border, and we've got I guess you would call them pills on us. And we're sitting there with prescription drugs. We're drinking wine. I'm drinking wine. He's not drinking wine.
Now keep in mind, Kevin Nash is now saying he's drinking wine and he has all those pills on him.
Wow.
I wasn't even drinking that. No, you weren't drinking. No, not until after. And so as we're getting there, we realized, we're going to go to the border. We probably shouldn't have these pills. We chose to drive instead of fly. Because we both had, they couldn't get us in because we've had a couple of arrests in our lives. I was young. I was nothing. Foolish gangster. But, so it's just we didn't have a whole lot of pills with us. It was one of those deals we kind of divvied them up and went instead of just being well, we can throw them out the window. Yeah, you can throw them out the window, or you can throw them down your throat. We went.
So Kevin Nash is making a motion that he put all the pills down his throat.
Yeesh.
After drinking wine.
So we threw them down our throat, and we get to the place, and the guy tells us, pull over.
And then now they're making shaky hands because of the pills.
Yes. The guy wants to get WrestleMania tickets, and we're in this is the border, the border, the Canadian border. It's 3 or 4. Yeah, it's 3 or 4 in the morning, and Scott's got a halibut, and he's he's trying to get it up on the counter, and I'm what?
And they're shaking, and they're all pilled out now.
And we're look at Scott, the guy goes to the back row. Scott looked fucked up. He goes, dude, don't say anything. We got out, we went to Tim Hortons and ate donuts, and I think we just sat there for a while.
Tim Horton mentioned.
Yeah, that's when Tim Hortons was actually good.
Shout out to Tim Hortons.
And then we have this from Click This, the Kevin Nash podcast.
Look at that. Can I just say real quick, the template that you're seeing right there for that thumbnail with the logo and the thing on the side, and then him cutting off the left side to the right side, and then the image inside the right side. That is a Lor Diaz template right there. I was the blueprint, the one that kind of put all that together. I didn't do that one specifically, but if you look at all of the other Click This and Save with Conrad podcast network thumbnails, at least at the time when I was doing them, it follows the same template. Just saying.
By the way, he's open for commissions too, by the way. I'm just saying.
Hey, look at that.
So the plan that we saw that unfolded at WrestleMania 18 was not the original plan. So now Kevin Nash is going to tell you what was supposed to happen, but got changed 24 hours before the event.
But when you get to TNA, I was reading, what's his name? Duff McKagan's book from Guns N' Roses, right? And that was a band that partied hard across the board, all of them, right? And so when you're on the party train, everyone's having a good time. And then what starts to happen, one or maybe two of the members of the band start to slip more than the others. So like in this example, in Duff's book, I mean, he was partying pretty hard, but then like Steven Adler was, I think, the first one who they were realizing wasn't going to be able to continue at that pace. Was there a time where when you guys were on the party train, you and Sean and Scott, where Scott became more of a concern for you than the others?
Yeah, I mean, and that was towards the end of the WCW run, and then we went into the NWO run with WWE, and a lot of people don't know this. People always ask. I think it was WrestleMania 18, whenever Scott worked against Austin, but people say, why didn't you have a match? And I'm like, well, the original finish up until Sunday was Scott and I were going to fuck Steve.
In the match, not literally.
Pause.
And then Rock was going to go over on Hogan, and we were going to come down and get heat on Rock and leave WrestleMania with heat, which would be the first time, I think, in the history of WrestleMania that somebody would leave with heat.
That's not entirely true. WrestleMania 2000 when Triple H won.
I was just thinking the same thing.
On the Rock.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So as Kevin points out, the original plan was for Austin to lose to Scott Hall, The Rock to beat Hogan, then they beat down The Rock and go off the air with NWO standing tall, which means Hogan would still be part of the NWO.
Mm. And in 24 hours, it went from beating me and Scott going down, getting beat up by Rock and Hulk, and pretty much getting fucked. And by the time we got showered, I couldn't even stay up with Scott. And I mean, we got into the hotel, and he didn't even go upstairs. He just went right to the bar, and he had been sober for 6-7 months at that time.
Oof.
And that's the beginning of his end at WWE too, because I think 3 or 4 months later he'd be released after the plane ride from hell and him drinking and all that stuff.
My heart just fucking fell in my stomach. I was like, and what was I supposed to say?
So what was your thoughts on Scott Hall and Steve Austin? And also the original plan.
So, going back to the Ludwig stuff, you're a representative of the company. You're an ambassador for the company. And then, of course, you're going into one of the biggest shows of the company's existence, and you're being put in a position that people, work their entire lives, their entire careers to be a part of. And so I don't feel any sympathy, at least in a vacuum, when it comes to that, because if you were to take that position in that situation seriously, you would take a good hard look at yourself and go, well, I need to be of clear mind. I need to make sure I'm in tip-top physical condition. I need to make sure that I don't mess this up. But as it is being told, it would appear that it went the other way. So unfortunately, like you said, it led to Scott Hall losing his job and then, eventually his life, which is very unfortunate. But to where WrestleMania landed, it probably was the better choice. It was always weird to me how Scott Hall got the singles match with Stone Cold. Obviously, going back to watching the King of the Ring, seeing young Razor Ramon doing his thing and, can't miss prospect and, went on to do huge things, working with one of the biggest names in the company on the biggest stage that you can be put on. Having Austin actually blindside Kevin Nash on the floor, which then caused him to get involved into the match later on, made sense. The one thing that I can point out as a negative overall when it comes to this match was the god awful hype music for the video. Yeah. I was watching it and I was just like, what the fuck is this music, bro? It was like some sort of like Marvel movie whimsical shit that then did not need to be anywhere near this blood feud. The match also was another hot start. There was no tie-ups. They immediately went into fighting. And the only other note that I have for this was Nash running around on the floor before he got kicked out to pull the ref for one of the near falls. I saw him running, which Kevin Nash does not really do, especially at that time, to pull the ref out the way. I don't know why. I just had to make a note about that. I thought it was an interesting visual, but I mean, it gave us that iconic Stone Cold Stunner. The Tim Hortons double that Scott Hall sold tremendously. You had the name power. It just seemed like and this was kind of like emblematic of the entire show, to be perfectly honest. It just seemed like some very awkward and very weird pairings, like Kane and Kurt Angle, Scott Hall and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I feel like maybe there could have been a better marquee match to be had if you shuffled the names around, but for what it was, I have no problem with it. Everything served its purpose because what then ended up happening at the end of Hogan and The Rock kind of played into it, but we won't get into that yet. We have a couple more things to get into after that. So from what was supposed to happen to what actually happened, I feel like they probably did the right thing.
And there was also a plan before that as well. So there was a third previous plan. So before Hogan and Rock got together, there was a Raw match where it was Hall, Nash, and Hogan versus Rock and Austin in a handicap match.
And
the
star power of it all.
It was the only time you ever saw Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan fight in the ring.
Wow, that's right. They never really did have a one-on-one program, at least as far as I remember.
No, they never did. Hogan one time came out and challenged him, but they dropped it right after because Austin didn't want it. But the whole thing was, before that handicap match, it was supposed to be Hogan and Austin.
Now that would have been...
So the whole thing is, when they had that handicap match, when Austin was in the ring with Hogan, he realized, this is going to be a bad match. I don't want to do this. And then it changed to Rock and Hogan.
Huh. Interesting.
So it makes you wonder if it was going to be Rock and Hall.
Could have been. Could have been. They could have slotted him against Kane. Who knows?
Yeah. And then the weirdest part too, so when it became Austin versus Scott Hall, all of a sudden, they took Scott Hall's alcohol problem and put it in story. So they would put him in the freezer, covered by beer. They would open beer and start pouring it all over Scott Hall, who has alcohol problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was a very poor taste in storyline. And then, I think this one here, yes, I think this is the only tag team match next. Tag team titles. We have Billy and Chuck defeating the APA, Dudley Boys, and Hardys. This is a 4-way match. Billy and Chuck are at the hottest right now, right before the whole wedding thing. What did you think of this match?
So we talked about this in other shows where you need to have ebbs and flows and high points and low points throughout the card. So you're not burning out your audience and you're giving the crowd enough time to kind of settle before you set them up for the big stuff. The way that they place these matches, in my mind, makes sense if you're going to have a really big marquee match like Stone Cold and Scott Hall. You're going to want to bring them down a little bit with a lesser, comparatively on the card, if we're grading on a
buffer
curve.
match, yeah.
Yeah, a buffer. And then, you're off to do Rock and Hogan after that, and then, we'll keep going. The one real note that I do have, I have two notes actually. This is another match where they started off hot. Another match where they started off hot. APA was eliminated very early in the match, which was interesting for me because they then went on to have like the other 3 teams in the match. And I feel like this is also serving another master as well. You want to try and have as many names on the show as possible, just like we were talking about with the dark match on Sunday Night Heat. So this does seem like a way for WWE to get, or WWF at the time, to get all of these people onto the show and have them, compete for the tag team titles. The match was nothing special. However, the one high point in that match I would like to point out is Stacy Keibler getting up on the apron and distracting Jeff Hardy by pulling literally her shorts up so her entire ass and cheeks were out. And then Jeff coming through and giving that ass a slap. So those are the only notes that I have for that match. Billy and Chuck went over. They retained their tag team titles. Billy Gunn, again, we talked about this before. Timeless wrestling in 2022 the same way that he's wrestling in 2026 nowadays. Crazy to see how young all of these guys
He's a different beast too. He's
insane. Like Matt and Jeff Hardy, obviously they're still doing their thing in TNA right now. Seeing them fresh faced, baby faced, and all of that, the Dudley Boys and all of that. It is so wild to see because I'm so used to seeing them as they are now. To see how they were back in 2002, they look so wildly different nowadays. It's crazy to see.
Did you ever see the Stacy Keibler where she's posing with the 2 belts?
Oh, brother, that definitely, that got me through my young adult life for sure.
And then CM Punk tried to do the same thing?
Gross. That was the thing that you tagged me on, you son of a bitch. You sick bastard.
It's okay. I could have tagged you on something else because they have Jacob Fatu. He's like licking the U.S. title and the world title.
Oh.
And then they got the picture of Logan Paul in the shower with it, then CM Punk.
Oh, brother, why? No. Can it be Chelsea Green or somebody instead?
I wish. Okay, so next up we have the most memorable match, which again, The Rock versus Hogan, Icon versus Icon, Passion of the Torch. It was incredibly loud booing for The Rock inside the Sky Dome. They did not like anything about The Rock. Even when Hogan wasn't involved, they hated him. So he would have an interview with Jonathan Coachman, and they were booing throughout the whole thing. And the best part is just when The Rock's like, "Do you believe in God?" And Coach goes to do a prayer, and he goes, "What up, G?
What up, G?" Yeah. I'm sure you appreciated Coachman being bullied by The Rock here in this segment.
Oh yeah. Oh, the other thing too. So during this weird timing with the WWE version of NWO, they had at the concession stand the WWE version of NWO shirt. It looks so different from the WCW one because it's more like properly lined and stuff. So it doesn't look very. It looks like more professional.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so weird having the NWO shirt, but on the back where your neck is, it has a WWE logo.
Oh, sacrilege, really.
Yeah. So we have Rock versus Hogan, match of a lifetime. What do you think about this?
So I can only imagine how it was actually in there in the arena. The crowd was up and hot for the entirety of the match. And to the point that I was making throughout this show, every match for the most part, outside of the two, started off hot. And I feel like if I were to play devil's advocate, maybe it was done by design, because just standing there and aura farming in front of that crowd, they were doing the looking on the opposite ends of the arena at the same time, just letting the crowd marinate in the moment. Top 3 WrestleMania matches and moments, at least in my opinion, when it comes down to it. When you think of WrestleMania 18, when you think of WrestleMania, you think of that moment. So I can only imagine what it was like for you to be there in that arena, to feel that energy, to feel that electricity, to be a part of that crowd that were loud and just in it and locked in for the entirety of that match. The quintessential perfect WrestleMania match. The one thing that I did note was this awkward spot that they had in the corner where it looked like Hogan was going for a running boot in the corner when Rock was in the corner, but they covered it up well. Unless you were like really looking for it, you wouldn't have known any different. But it was so weird at the time. I mean, today to watch it and hear Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler call The Rock the young upstart, the young lion, the future of WWE, where obviously now that we know he's a chairman of the board of TKO above WWE, it's so crazy to see, the trajectory that The Rock went on after being handed the torch by Hulk Hogan. And then, of course, with all of the shenanigans after the fact, Hall and Nash coming back out, putting the boots to Hogan, only to be saved by The Rock, and then have the big ceremonious send-off after the fact. Again, perfect, quintessential WrestleMania moment, WrestleMania match. This was worth the price of admission. This was worth the price of the pay-per-view. Perfect, no notes, 10-10.
Yeah, in the arena, everybody was on their feet. All the hair on your arms was all up. You had this moment. It almost like time was frozen. You knew something special was happening. You have the nostalgia of Hulk Hogan being back. You're seeing the modern Rock at the time, and they're fighting together. And all you see is cameras just going off all over the place. And you probably had this before at WrestleMania, where people say the arena was shaken. The arena was rumbling in this moment. You could feel it from everyone. And Terry, Hulk Hogan put on a great match. The Rock put on a great match. This is a moment that's going to live with me for a very, very long time until it gets senile and dementia. But we have Hulk Hogan, who says why he refused to listen to The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Because Hogan's going to go on to say he never rehearsed a match. He never listened to anyone. He kind of called everything in the ring. And he's going to ask The Rock, okay, so what if this goes sideways? It's a very interesting story. Involves The Rock and even his dad, too. This is from Logan Paul's Impulsive as well.
So then I called Vince. I said, bro. He goes, oh, well.
Yeah, I already don't believe that he had broken ribs, too, by the way.
He's fake.
He called me Monster. Well, Monster, before you go to Toronto, I need you down in Miami tomorrow. I said, Miami.
And also, if he's taken a plane and he has injured ribs or broken ribs, I don't think he's able to fly.
Right?
Well, that's not true because he was on TV with him as well.
Right.
If you remember the No Way Out before this, they were all taking pictures and making fun of each other on screen.
Nothing but
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no way that he has never. There's just no way. No. Full stop. No. You have to, at the very least, know what the finish is. You at least have to know what the cutoff is going to be. I feel like he's gilding the lily. He's lying. He's faking. He's a phony.
liar. And Logan Paul, of all people, saying, "Oh, they call it on the spot when he can't do it."
How? It's insane.
Or Ronda. Ronda Rousey also was notorious for going notoriously like choreographed.
That was funny too when Ronda Rousey fought Nia Jax and they're both stiffing each other too. Now, do you think back then he had that thought that the people were going to shit on what was planned?
Hindsight's 2020, of course. I'm gonna have to say Hulk Hogan W for this because as somebody that's done this for a while and very recently, in fact, I was like, look, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna listen to the crowd, we're going to feel it out, we're gonna talk to each other, we're gonna listen to each other and just have fun because unfortunately, a lot of times what happens is you'll have a plan and then something goes sideways and then all you're thinking about is getting back on track. And then people who know better will point it out and sniff and smell blood in the water and really give you shit about it. So I appreciate the perspective that he's giving. I just don't think that he's actually presenting it in the way that he thinks would be the best, in my opinion. There's people out there that need to have everything written out for them, but then there's other people, and this is where I feel like the workers, their value as a worker is really put to the test here, because if you can go out there and just roll around with somebody for 20 minutes and not call anything in the back, you will be considered a better hand and somebody that you would generally want to do work with, because, it would just be a lot easier for you guys to just go out there and figure it out. And that really goes to show like who is really tapped into, doing the match to appease the crowd more so than appeasing yourself. And I had a trainer at a time who, it still sticks with me to this day, and it might get a little vulgar, so my apologies. There are two types of people that go out there and wrestle, and one of them is with like a Hulk Hogan mindset where it's like, I'm going to listen to the crowd, I'm going to react accordingly, I'm going to be in the moment, and then obviously you're going to get a gold star match like you had at WrestleMania. But then there may be another type of wrestler that goes out there and just does cool moves because they think it's going to be cool, and they end up going out there, and this is what my trainer would always say, they would go out there and jerk themselves off in the ring doing all of these cool moves thinking that that's going to impress people. But people don't understand like what's the whirly bird tilt-a-whirl huracanrana tope con hilo deal, where it's like, oh, okay, we've never done that, so we don't have like that point of reference, we don't get it. Like you're just going out there and performing. People want to be a part of the show. You literally just said you felt the energy, you felt the building rumble and shake, and they didn't do anything. They just stood there. So again, yeah, the way that Hulk Hogan is saying it could be maybe finessed a little bit better, but the mindset I absolutely agree with.
WCW is after every match, he'd have a cooler with beer. Him, Hall, Nash, some of the other NWO would just go there and drink like crazy. Now, do you think that people cheered him in part because of nostalgia?
I think Canada's weird. All right. Canada's weird. They always like to say it's bizarro world over there. They'll cheer, people that are not supposed to be cheered. But like, that's the appeal of the Canadian crowd sometimes. That's the appeal of these foreign crowds. I remember Io Sky on that one Clash in Italy show, I think, or Clash in Paris. For whatever reason, everybody just really, 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 really gravitated and resonated with Io Sky that one time. And she's carrying that now to modern day. So the thing of it is, just like with Hogan, with what he just said, you listen to the crowd and you react accordingly. You can go in there with the best of intentions, with the plan. But if the crowd is cheering for you, you kind of throw all what you had planned out the window and start appealing to what you're hearing out there in the arena.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they saw that Hogan's coming back, the NWO version to WWE, I thought they were expecting the WCW NWO Hogan, and it didn't feel the same.
Yeah, it was cursed.
He kind of like was a watered down version of it, because in WCW there was chaos. He was on the mic, he was calling everyone out, he was flexing, he was doing all this stuff. And do you remember his original name when he turned heel?
It was Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but do you know what the announcers called him at first?
Oh man, you really put me on the spot here. I'm drawing a blank. What was it?
Triple H.
Are you fucking kidding?
It's Hollywood Hulk Hogan. So they called him Triple H for like a month or something.
No way. I'm sure the lawyers had something to say about that.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, so a month after this WrestleMania, it's Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Battle of the Triple H's.
The let me see. 6. What's the 6? I don't know what 6 is. I'm trying to think of the word that's associated with 6. Not octa, because that's 8. I lost it. Never mind. Continuing on.
Now, also keep in mind, Kevin Nash said 24 hours before WrestleMania, they made the decision to turn Hulk Hogan face. So is this Hogan Cena in the moment, or is this that 24-hour before plan where we're going to kind of turn your face during the match?
Interesting to say. I mean, again, hindsight's 2020. He could be, retroactively fitting this in to make it seem like it was all so clandestine. Maybe it was just a big old happy accident. When it comes to these pro wrestlers and the carny lifestyle that they all live, it leaves it very open to interpretation.
It wouldn't be the first time Hogan did that as well.
All of these guys, bro, coming
It's all
through.
instinct,
Just need to learn to listen.
and it's heartfelt. And
Yeah, exactly. What you can have whatever your thoughts are on Hulk Hogan, but that's one of the best minds in wrestling.
Facts.
Psychology, how to work the crowd. He is someone you can learn from.
How to make money, absolutely.
Hey guys, if you like
Oh, go fuck yourself, Logan. Okay, so next up we have the main event, which I feel so bad for Triple H and Jericho because they had. Oh, sorry, no, we have a match before that. We have the women's match. Jazz defeated Lita and hometown hero Trish Stratus to retain the women's championship. This is a random ass match, and Trish is basically only in here because it's Toronto. Because before it was Jazz versus Lita. What did you think about this? This is basically just another buffer match.
Yes, this was absolutely a cool down match. They needed something to kind of buffer between the two big main event matches. And what an unfortunate spot to be in. I mean, obviously being on the WrestleMania card is a privilege and a blessing for any professional wrestler. But to be sandwiched in between The Rock and Hollywood Hogan and Triple H and Chris Jericho, what an unfortunate circumstance. Jazz is a very capable in-ring athlete. Trish looked very new and very green. It was kind of jarring hearing her come out to that old TNA music when she was with Test and Albert, I think. This was before her whole Stratisfaction, song and gimmick and all of that, before she really came into her own, which is crazy to think because Trish Stratus is actually one of the best women wrestlers of all time, generational. But it did take her a while to figure it out, but not very long. Lita, of course, I have a soft spot in my heart. Lita is one of the best pioneers in women's professional wrestling. She doesn't take any shit. She stands out from everybody. She's got a great look. She looks amazing. Unfortunately, the crowd was not in it until towards the very end. The King, Jerry the King Lawler, unfortunately, was also just really, really hamming it up, posting horny on Maine, talking about how good everybody looked and how they needed to get like rubbed down and stuff like that. Just real horn dog shit, really corny. Wouldn't really fly nowadays. Another match that started off hot, no tie-ups or anything like that. Unfortunately, the crowd was low, especially after, busting their nut over Hulk and The Rock. There was this really nasty fall that Trish took to the floor that I made a mention of, but she seemed to be okay after that. The only other thing other than that was that it was a pretty hard-hitting match. It wasn't very pretty. Trish wasn't, she didn't really look very good in that outing, but she has since then become a more capable performer and professional wrestler. Nothing really of note. It was just a buffer match, a cool down match between the two big main events.
So this would be Lita's. I think she only had, she had 2 WrestleMania matches ever. So she had WrestleMania X8, and then the next one was WrestleMania 39 in 2023.
Holy shit.
And out of both of them, neither one of them was a one-on-one match. So in this one, she was in a triple threat. WrestleMania 39, 2023, she teamed up with Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch to defeat Damage Control.
Crazy. Crazy to think all that time between those two matches.
And then we get to the main event. And they can't at all win in this because you follow in Rock and Hogan. Triple H versus Chris Jericho for the undisputed title. So this was not supposed to be the original match. So Austin was actually supposed to be in this match. He was supposed to be still a heel from the Invasion angle. But he didn't want to be a heel because it was supposed to be set up Triple H versus Stone Cold, where, if you remember, Triple H got injured while doing the 2-man power trip.
Mm-hmm.
And they're supposed to build it up that Triple H is back as the babyface returning from an injury to go after Austin for the title. But unfortunately, that never happened. And we got Chris Jericho versus Triple H, undisputed title. Now, I also have a clip here of Chris Jericho saying that he was disappointed with WrestleMania 8 or 18 main event because he believes he should not have been the main event.
Be honest, main event in the fact it was on last, but the main event of the show was Hogan and Rock, and I knew it. And I was actually, most people would be pitching to have their match on last. I was pitching for it not to go on last. Because I said, how do you follow Hogan and Rock? And Triple H, and probably, rightfully so, was fighting for the title match to be last, but we couldn't follow it. We just couldn't. And you could see the air go out of the room. That's a match I've never watched it back. Because I remember being kind of disappointed in it, main event of WrestleMania. And I remember talking with CM Punk years later, and one of his big reasons why he left wrestling was he was really mad that he wasn't the main event of WrestleMania. He wasn't on last. I said, dude, you worked with The Undertaker at WrestleMania. That's the main event. Like, any Taker matches, he goes, you can't say that because you were on last.
Now, what is your opinion on the final match, what it should be in any WrestleMania in general? Should it be a title match or the biggest star-drawing match?
The biggest star-drawing match. The biggest marquee match. The fact that that Hulk and The Rock was the main event, they didn't need the championship. Sometimes matches with the marquee names on them can be bigger than the championships. Jericho understands that, which is, in a testament to his wrestling mind. And then also you have to think about the crowd. Obviously, they want to put all of their energy into the main event, which, you can obviously say the hindsight's 2020, but it was so true. Like the show pretty much ended after The Rock and Hogan. Everything that was after that, it just felt like, okay, let's just get through this so we can all go home. Let's wrap it up. Unfortunately, they went with what they went. I feel like the show would have been better altogether if they ended with The Rock and Hogan. So absolutely, it all really depends on the situation.
Yeah, and especially after Hogan and Rock, everybody in the building was just tired. They were sitting down. They just went through this emotional moment with Rock and Hogan, the match of a lifetime, and they were kind of drained. So they're sitting down, not really into the match. They're watching it, but not really there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I was on last, but I wasn't the main event. Just because you're on last does not make you the main event per se. But Still, we were on last, and I can say I still have the card at home that they gave out with the programs. It was an old school card that had all the matches, then the WrestleMania main event.
I have that. It's awesome, actually. It was. So, did you ever buy like a NES original game?
Yeah.
Did you ever
NES.
see the manual for like the original Legend of Zelda? How it was like a comic book and it's like artistic and all that?
Yeah.
That's how the program was at 18. It was like so detailed, so colorful, so thick. It was amazing.
This is a lost art, really.
Yeah.
Jericho versus Triple H, and with my legacy established, and some people saying that Jericho's the GOAT and all this other shit. At the time, I was the first undisputed champion, but that was the end of the line. It took me 2001 to 2000. It took me 7 years to win the title back again, and that run with the undisputed championship to win it was great, but the whole run with it was terrible for me, like in my opinion. The angles were the I was the champion, but
also too, he was overshadowed by the whole NWO stuff coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the end of the WCW World Heavyweight title being combined with the WWF title. And Chris Jericho won it, but then you still had Rock and Austin with the NWO, so kind of got overshadowed.
Yes.
I'd be on the fourth on the show. My original idea for that angle was Triple H was hurt, and when he came back, I was gonna say, like, dude, like, your wife's having an affair on you, and the affair was she's having an affair with Rob Van Dam, and it would go through the thing. He doesn't believe it. I have video proof, and then go into the ring and say, listen, man, we don't see eye to eye, but I can't stand for this anymore. Your wife's having an affair with Van Dam. And then show a video of, like, guy with a ponytail making out with Stephanie in bed, whatever, and then turn around and it's me with the Rob Van Dam hair, and then I'm standing behind with the sledgehammer and I kill him, right?
Now, do you think that would be a better storyline going into this match than what we got?
Probably not. That kind of angle reeks of the time. You couldn't really do that nowadays. I don't think it would have aged very well.
Which starts with me and Stephanie, and we're together and we're in love, and that's kind of the whole angle. And Triple H wouldn't go for it. He said that my character would never be so stupid to, fall for this, and my wife would never have an affair on me. And so it ended up being that.
Now, keep in mind too, he said this about Kurt Angle too. So when they had the Triple H versus Kurt Angle feud, the original plan was for Stephanie to leave Triple H for Kurt. And he said, well, that doesn't make sense. That's not realistic. She would never leave me for Kurt, which kind of has the insecurities there.
Or he could have seen how it worked out for Chris Benoit and Kevin Sullivan.
Well, not only that. So remember, Triple H and Stephanie got together while Triple H was with China.
Yikes, that's right.
Stephanie and I were business associates, and she was like more the focal point than me. And I remember seeing a WrestleMania graphic for the main event of WrestleMania, and you see the still shot, and it was Triple H versus Chris Jericho with Stephanie McMahon. But instead of Stephanie McMahon's being behind me, she was in the front, and I was behind her. I remember calling Kevin down and going, dude, I'm the champion. Like, I get what's going on, but you got to change that graphic. It's like Triple H versus Stephanie with me in the background. It was just more of a kind of a forgotten thing. So the build-up for the match wasn't great. The positioning of the match wasn't great. And in my opinion, the match wasn't great. But I can say I was in the main event of WrestleMania. So there you go.
Sure, that
So
paycheck.
what do you think about what Chris just said?
Agreed. He was put in an impossible situation. The buildup wasn't, it didn't fire on all cylinders. It was an afterthought. And it just goes to show, like, a testament to the star power of the other names on the show, where a huge return by Triple H from injury, having this intrigue with Stephanie being the manager for the heavyweight champion, the undisputed champion, and, main eventing WrestleMania during one of the biggest booms of the industry. Still paling in comparison to having Rock and Austin on the show, and Hulk Hogan on the show, and the NWO on the show. there was just so much more that was going on that was so much more important. It was an impossible position to work out of.
And how did you feel about the actual match itself?
Brother, so I sat through the entire pay-per-view up until that match, and right before that match started this morning when I was watching this show, I had to get up and like do something. Like I got up and then I went over to fix myself something to eat. You know, I was emotionally I was drained from the enormity of the show. So I had to kind of like reset myself and like kind of resettle myself in order to get hyped for this match, because I remember it being very low energy and not really worth remembering when I watched it the first time. So like coming back to this and revisiting that moment, I was like, man, I'm just feeling it all over again. I'm really not like invested in this as being like the final match of the biggest show of the year. So I absolutely, yeah. This did not meet expectations. This completely has missed the mark.
And then we also got the moment with Triple H giving a pedigree to Stephanie.
Interestingly
which has
enough,
been built up for weeks before that.
Yeah, interestingly enough, with that pedigree too, Stephanie obviously had some enhancements done to herself for this for television, and to see her take a pedigree like that, putting her investments in danger, that was a bold and brave thing that she did.
And that was WrestleMania 18. So if anyone has any questions, let it be known now.
Sound
anyone
off.
in the chat?
Sound off in the chat. I overall thought that this was a good show. It was a weird show to me. It was a really weird show. Like the matchups were weird. The setup sometimes was weird, but like at the end of the day, it was a perfectly capable show. I think it was excellent. It delivered. It was an entertaining event. The match lineup was a little bit weird, but looking back at it just goes to show how different things are now compared to how they were before.
Yeah, with all the commercials too.
And so many matches.
Yeah, and only one tag team. Yeah, so I think that's it. I think we got through the news. We got through WrestleMania.
Wow.
So, anything else you want to say?
Man, I always look forward to these shows. I always look forward to revisiting the events that I've watched in my youth, growing up as a kid into a young adult to modern days. And I like the fact that we were able to give the power to the
Austin
people.
said doesn't work for me, brother.
Mick Brew, hanging out with us over on Kick, was saying that Austin said that doesn't work for me, brother. Very true. Austin likes to play that card a lot.
Well, it's funny. He said it to Hogan too.
So he hit him with the Uno reverse no you card. I keep going back to like how different wrestling is nowadays. Like I love the pomp and circumstance and the athleticism and the presentation of modern day pro wrestling, but there's nothing like that nostalgic feeling that you get when revisiting something that you grew up watching and something that you remember so fondly. And to be able to look back and watch these things with like a better understanding of how wrestling works, and more of behind the scenes stuff and how things were put together and the way that things could have happened and all of the what ifs surrounding it. It's a fascinating look, not only as a fan but as somebody that has done this.
Me feel older.
Exactly. I feel like so old watching this stuff, and it wasn't like widescreen, it wasn't HD, watching it all with this low resolution, and me thinking at the time as I was watching this, like the stage set, like, let me ask you something. Actually, you were actually there, and I'm always like a huge fan and a huge advocate for the stage sets and their enormity and like the lights and all of that stuff. How cool was it to see that huge stage and that that huge setup in the arena when you were there watching that show? Like were you struck? Were you all struck? Were you stun locked by it all?
Well, first off, when I looked it up again, I was like 2002. Wow. Yeah, I'm old. That was the first thing I noticed. But yeah, I remember seeing it on TV. You're like, oh, that's cool. And then you see it in person. You're like, God damn, that is huge.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, this is what it looks like in person. And I'm so glad I got to see it during that era and not the current era where it's just like screens.
Yes.
Because can you imagine being at like a SmackDown with the giant fist or the Backlash with like the swinging blades and stuff?
Yeah.
All like the classic stuff.
Or that King of the Ring one year where they had like the electric chair as the stage, or even the TLC pay-per-views where they had all the giant ladders and stuff like that. Like that is truly a lost art. Like I get it, like the LED screens are a lot more efficient and economical when it comes down to it, but man, give me those stage sets where it was like unique. And what was that last show that just happened? Backlash. It looked like a regular Monday Night Raw. Like they had the same stage set as if it was a SmackDown or a Raw. And I mean, the show was good. There was a lot less advertisements. There was a lot more wrestling, but it just felt like another episode of Raw. And I do know that WWE for the longest would have those HD sets that would just change the LED boards or whatever like that. But man,
I want to say I quit watching full time shortly after this.
One of the places I wish I would have gone to, I wish it was available to me, was WCW Halloween Havoc.
Yo,
Like
with
the
the giant
classic.
pumpkin.
Oh yeah, and the tombstones and everything.
Hell yeah. Oh my God, take me back. McBrew over here on the Kick side of things says that after this, they stopped watching wrestling after this. Crazy to think. Like what a way to bookend watching wrestling. What a way to go out.
This was also 2 months before the actual WWF changed to WWE. So you saw the end of the WWF.
And didn't I see some sort of factoid out there? They were talking about how WWE now exists longer than what WWF has. Am I reading that wrong? Am I getting my information mixed up?
I think so, because there was the WWF and then WWF and then WWE. But that's a crazy thought, and it makes you feel like you're old when you think about that.
Oh, brother. I definitely do. Like, especially with, we were talking about Kurt Angle's promo and how Jerry the King Lawler was objectifying women throughout the whole thing. It's definitely a different place now.
And bro, when I was going through like King of the Ring 93, I'm like, I remember seeing this live. I'm like, holy fuck. And I just, oh my God, where's the time gone?
Yep. My old heart is breaking at the thought of it.
And how about this? In June 2026, Smark Guys, we changed it up a bit. You up for something different?
Let's do it. Let's shake things up.
How about this? June 2026, Smark Guys 3.0, we cover a WCW pay-per-view.
Holy shit, my bread and butter. WCW was the original Bay for me. Like, you know how when you were growing up, it was like, are you a Sega kid or are you a Super Nintendo kid? Well, brother, I was a WCW kid growing up. All the way since back in the day. I love WCW, and I would love to switch it up and see what we could talk about on the other side of the street.
So this will be here. We will put out 4 choices, and people will vote on which WCW event we cover in June.
Let your voices be heard, guys. We listen to your feedback. We know that you guys want to be a part of the programming. That's why we wanted to have the voting for this episode here. You guys unanimously decided that WrestleMania 18 was the play. I'm so glad that you guys did that.
We would watch one and tape the other every Monday night.
And yeah, McBrew's got it right. Back in the day, brother, like take me back when you would have the Monday Night Wars, WCW on, WWF on, and you would switch between the two channels to see which one had the better product on. You will never experience anything like that ever again.
So you want to hear something that sucks though in Canada?
Mm.
So we had Raw on TSN, the sports network, on Monday live. And then we had to wait till Tuesday to see Monday Nitro. So we couldn't switch back and forth unless you're like
Whoa.
fancy and you got like all the different channels.
Yeah, well, I grew up poor, brother, but during the Monday Night Raw, WCW Nitro era, I was fortunate enough to have satellite television, the fancy cable, and so I was lucky enough to be able to switch between those two channels. And like the WCW cruiserweights at the first hour of Nitro, brother, like that molded me as a professional wrestler. I love the cruiserweight style. I love the luchadors. I loved how it brought something different to wrestling. I love the gimmicks. I love the masks. Like WWF, obviously, WWE is the end all be all, obviously, because they're still around. But WCW, I feel like was a better wrestling product. So I adore WCW, and I can't wait to chop it up with you about it.
Well, it's all going to be in the hands of the people. They're going to decide. We're going to put out 4 possible good selections, and you, yes, you, the people, will decide.
No, really. You guys better pick something good. I mean, it's all good, but like, don't pick like WCW Greed, where Sid breaks his leg.
Oh, God.
Oh my God. Just thinking about it makes me sick. Ugh.
So, you know the funny thing about that is they never actually showed that on the pay-per-view?
Are you sure? Because, okay, no. You know what? You are right. They were showing Rick Steiner coming out to the ring, I think, or whoever. It was like a masked
They switched the
person.
camera, yeah.
Yeah, like they were like doing, someone was coming out to the ring, and then he does this fucking move, and he breaks his leg, and then it cuts back to him, and he's laying on the ground with his leg all aflutter, bent in a different direction, and like, maybe it's because I do the professional wrestling and it bothers me because in my head I can think this could happen to me one day. But seeing somebody like compound fracture, fucking break their limbs in that type of way, it upsets me in a way that no other thing can upset me. Like I can watch blood and guts all day. I can watch like the saddest shit ever. But when it comes to like a grievous injury like that, bro, it upsets me in a way that no other thing can.
Oh, dude, Siddits was
Well,
sick.
the
I
weirdest part
remember
is they
watching
didn't show
that.
any replays during the pay-per-view, but they
Ugh.
had the bright idea the next night on Monday Nitro to show it from different angles through
Yeah.
the broadcast.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like WCW loved to do that. Like they showed Kevin Nash jackknife powerbombing the Giant that one time, breaking his neck. They kept showing that on repeat. I'm like, what are we doing? Stop. No.
And speaking of train wrecks as well and disgusting stuff, one of the pay-per-views I'm going to nominate right now is Halloween Havoc 1998, which is Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh,
So
no.
that's my nomination there.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to go back into the archives and see which now is this going to be something that we can throw our events in the arena, or is this strictly based off of what the fans want to see?
So how about this? You choose 2, I'll choose 2, and we'll let the people decide which one.
That seems more than fair. There you go.
Brother.
And who knows, maybe in the future we might have a third person here. Just saying, it's possible.
The third seat is open. We got the iDubbbz chair right there in the corner.
You know, it should be funny if we do like Bash at the Beach 96 one day and just like, who's the third man? Who's the third person?
You know what? That does sound like a pretty good idea, actually.
So I think we're good here. Any last comments or words?
Guys, seriously, you know I say this every time, but this was seriously the most fun I've had on stream, and I always want to show love and appreciation for Dashfire, who literally is the reason all of this is happening. He comes to me with the docket. He comes to me with the ideas. He goes, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Literally,
If you want
all
a
I
one-off match with a BS finish, watch the
literally
Hearts
all I
versus
have to do
Steiners.
is
I wanna
show
say
up
93
after watching
WrestleFest.
the events and just chop it up and talk wrestling, which is something that I absolutely love to do and something that I wish that I was able to do more often. And it seems like you guys appreciate it too. I am always met with people in the chat on my other streams talking about how much they love hearing us talk about wrestling. And it's something that I don't really have the opportunity to do because I always do it for other people. Again, I mention this all the time. I'm always usually engineering shows for other people or engineering shows for myself. So it's always like a vacation. It's always like a nice oasis in this desert to just, come on stream, turn the microphone on and just start talking and not really have to worry about anything other than giving my opinion. So Dash, thank you so much for making this stream and all of the other episodes of Smark Guys some of the most fun that I have on stream throughout this entire thing of it. So thank you so much, and I will not rest until we get Dark Side Phil to talk about the new Smark Guys. I think it's going to have to happen.
Yeah. Anyone in this chat, start spamming Smark Guys 3.0, Dash and Diaz. And I want to thank you, Diaz, because if it was just me talking like a drunken asshole about wrestling, nobody would have cared. But I want to say, with you, a 20-year veteran, me able to pick your brain, to listen to audio from wrestlers and get your perspective from the wrestler point of view, to get your thoughts on what went well, what did not go well in matches, is absolutely priceless. So I want to thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for being the perfect partner here. And thank you for always helping out with this.
Hey, and thank you so much, everybody hanging out with us, not only on Dashfire's corner of the internet, but everybody hanging out on this corner of the internet too. I find it to be so rewarding to hear the fans talk about their experiences with pro wrestling too. Because this just goes beyond all the detracting stuff. It goes beyond, our other stuff that we do here on the internet. I feel like we found ourselves a nice little niche, a nice little corner of the internet that we've been able to carve out for ourselves. And it's only going to get better from here. I love being able to retroactively make the Smark Guys logos. I love being able to put together the thumbnails and making the production the way that it is. Like I said, I used to do this for a lot of people in this industry, and actually a lot of people that were actually on the show that we just watched, like Kurt Angle, like Arn Anderson, and the list goes on. So being able to do this on my own and blaze my own path, it's really cool to be able to do that. So thank you for the opportunity, guys, and thank you for listening to us.
Oh, so I have some breaking news.
Uh-oh, here we go. Let's hear it.
On the Ludwig Kaiser situation. So there's more information coming out. So the girl that's in AAA that he's dating, is it Andrea Barzarte?
I guess I'll have to do a Google search and find out.
Okay, so we have a statement here. He was in the apartment elevator with her, and they were being affectionate, but nothing crazy or out of the ordinary. And then apparently the person that got beat up didn't say anything in the elevator, but once he got out on the 12th floor, he allegedly said to Kaiser to the effect of, "You need to show some effing respect before I call ICE on that bitch."
Oh!
And then Kaiser got out of the elevator, they had a little scuffle, but no punches were apparently thrown.
Well. Interesting. Crazy. Look at that. I mean, shit. If he wasn't based already, I think that seals the deal.
And then someone put in comments, he's now over more in Mexico.
I was just about to say, he's like hand in hand with Alberto Del Rio and Liv Morgan and, all these other... They had this thing on the internet. It was like a compilation or a collage actually, of all of these mug shots of all of these professional wrestlers. And now it's like you see Kaiser's up there with the rest of them. Like they joined the wall.
Well, I'm glad we got that update in before we end this.
Yeah, what a full circle moment, because we were kicking off the show. Yep, I just got the tag. Started off the show talking about them, the Kaiser situation, and here we are now getting a little bit more information about it. So who knows what's gonna happen with this with this mask versus mask match? But if anything, now I'm definitely gonna have to. This is a 2-day event, if I'm not mistaken. This Triple Mania show.
Yeah, I believe Undertaker said it's 2 days, yeah.
Awesome. And it's coming up this weekend?
I believe so, yes.
Ah, shit. I'm going to have to be heavily medicated for that one. Let's go.
And it's on YouTube too, so it's free.
Shit. Well, there you go.
Because I think all the AAA stuff is on YouTube now.
Yes, and I think NXT now is also running all of their shows on YouTube, which is interesting.
And I hope everyone enjoyed the new stuff today. We're trying new content here, new format. So it looks like everyone loved us talking about Ric Flair and TKO and all the releases and stuff. So maybe next time we do Smart Guys, we're going to let the content build up and do another news story cycle.
I'm going to have to insist that we do that. I had a lot of fun talking about the modern era. And if you're watching this live or on the replay, please do let us know what you want to hear us talk about in the comments. Go to Dashfire's videos, go to my videos, leave a comment. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you want to hear us talk about. And we want to make this just as much your show as it is ours. We want to have you guys in the conversation. Let us know what you want to see and what you want to hear. I'm sure we'll be more than accommodating.
And also put 1 in the chat if you think Ric Flair is a drunk old bastard.
I'm going to have to put a 2 because he literally gave me like $200 to go get his shoes and belt from his hotel room. I'm a little biased.
That doesn't mean he's not an asshole.
Well, to other people, he was pretty cool to me. Outside of him like ribbing me, saying, "Oh shit, you got the wrong shoes, you dummy."
I think we are good. So everybody, have a good night. And as always, I will see you guys. What's today? Oh, tomorrow. I'm doing a DSP Rants night. Bad Moments Reacts and VODs on YouTube. We're going over some crazy DSP rants, so be there 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll do that. And then I also have DSP Week in Review on Sunday. We might have some surprise streams next week. Just saying. Nice. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. And thank you, Diaz, for everything. And I'll talk to you behind the scenes.
All right, Pimp. Have a good one, guys. Take care.